Yes, y'all. Do me a favor, as it's Saturday night, you know what it is, Saturday night shoot the breeze. Um, Post to your social media, to your Twitter. You can tag me in it. Post up we're live. I didn't have a chance to set up the announcements and all that stuff that I usually do. So do that for me if you can hear my voice. Repost the link. Let people know where you're hanging out this fine Saturday night. You know what it is. Koku, like to come on here just a tad bit early before we officially start the show and let you guys know what kind of topics we have in mind. Tonight, we're going to be looking at the West's refusal to deal with climate change and the fact that climate change affects black nations, more. Could that be the reason why the West refuses to deal with climate change? We want to look at a couple of articles on that. June just passed. We're in early July, and June in America is Pride Month. That gay stuff. We have a problem here that says, "Is Pride Month a black event in America?" Remember, Juneteenth is also during Pride Month. And if you remember, too, when they made Juneteenth an official holiday, they had a lot of paraphernalia with Juneteenth and the LGBTQ rainbow paraphernalia. So keep that in mind. We're going to discuss a thing that's been a buzzword the last week or so. What are black jobs? We're going to look at who they're using to attack Africa's stream. We're going to listen to Sekou Ture, a quote by Sekou Ture, and ask if he was right. And lastly, we're going to look at dating in your 40s. I think that's a wonderful mix of topics tonight. I hope you guys will come on in, join the panel, or be in the chat, active in the chat, posting your comments, your thoughts, etc. And I will see you guys on the other side. See KW Don 7 is out. He said the only pride I celebrate is straight black pride. Same here. So I know I can be heard out there. Appreciate it. What I'm going to do now is officially start the show. And on the other side, I'll introduce any and all panelists that are going to join us tonight, as well as drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. So please stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about black empowerment. Our show focuses on black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Welcome back to another episode of Shoot the Breeze, a segment of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. The Bitter Medicine Podcast is a part of the podcasting network KWAZ Radio. There are others that you should be listening to. It was just mentioned, the Pro Black Perspective, Partiality Podcast, the Revolutionary Matron. But also check out Brother Bakari. Also check out the Forecast Radio. And I'm announcing it here first. Also check out Kofi the Black Critic, who's now on KWAZ Radio as well. So make sure you guys look down in the description of the episode. You can find all of the platforms. I have to add Kofi's now. Add all the platforms down there. And make sure to support everyone that's doing things on this small network, but aiming for big things down the road. With all of that said, let me welcome in my first panelist for the night. I really appreciate these guys. First, let me welcome in Buana. Buana, how are you this week?
I'm good. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. You're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's you or if it's me.
Maybe it's the microphone. I don't know. Let me just come back, okay?
All right. Next, let's welcome in our boy, the Forecast. Forecast, how are you this week?
Yo, what's going on, Koku? How you doing, my brother?
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing good. Thanks for coming through as usual. Like I just was telling people out there, make sure you guys tune into this brother right here, the Forecast. Make sure you tune into Brother Bakari. Tune into all the other shows on KWAZ Radio. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all of you guys out there in the chat. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to do all the advertising for the episode that I usually do, the different posts to announce the show. So you guys help me out. Repost it to your socials and invite others to come and tune in as well. While Buana is fixing his audio, let me drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, and we'll discuss it as soon as Buana's back. So let me just grab the prompt here. Shout out to Oni Tase as well. I know he's on the continent, so chances are he won't be able to meet up with us as usual, as he usually does. But shout out to him as well. Should the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. Could the West's refusal to deal with climate change have to do with the fact that Black nations will have to deal with the worst impacts first? So I would like to hear from you guys in the chat. Drop your comments while I'm showing the 2 attachments. One of them I have to read out. Okay, we got Buana back now. So let me share the link. First one is going to take us to YouTube, where we're going to watch this video that's labeled Hurricane Beryl's Impact and Climate Change Concerns. It's a just over 2 minute long video. We'll watch it and then we will discuss it.
Strong winds lashed Grenada on Monday as Hurricane Beryl made landfall in the Caribbean, churning into the storm surges. The U.S. National Hurricane Center called the Category 4 storm an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation, as winds from Beryl reached 150 miles per hour, and it dropped up to 10 inches of rain in some areas. Michael Brennan is the Hurricane Center's director.
You can see the very well-defined eye in both visible and infrared satellite imagery. Beryl has re-strengthened this morning as it's gone through an eye wall replacement cycle. So now is when we're experiencing those catastrophic Category 4 wind conditions in portions of the Grenadines, places like Union Island, Palm Island, Petite Martinique, Petite St. Vincent, Carriacou.
The appearance of a major hurricane this early in the Atlantic hurricane season is rare. So is the quick strengthening of this storm, according to Christopher Rozoff, an atmospheric scientist at the National Center for Atmospheric Research.
It had a very intense shift in intensity from a Category 1 to Category 4 storm in less than 24 hours, making it one of the most impressive rapid intensification cases in Atlantic history. And we honestly have not seen any recorded storms perform such an intensification rate prior to September 1st in the history books. So for a storm to do this in late June is something we have not seen before.
The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines said he was expecting a natural disaster that could continue for days. Beryl is expected to continue thrashing the region throughout the week.
These are the chances of hurricane force winds. We're most concerned about downstream about seeing hurricane force winds in Jamaica, and a hurricane watch has been issued for that island as of this morning. There is a potential for Beryl to remain a hurricane, a powerful hurricane across the Caribbean Sea. There is also a chance of hurricane force winds extending as far westward as to portions of the Yucatan Peninsula later this week.
The storm is currently moving to the west-northwest at 20 miles per hour.
So this prompt came with two attachments. I'll share the other one. Takes us to NPR. You know what? I don't think I have to read this. You guys let me know if you can drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear this.
Hurricane Beryl strengthened to Category 5 status after making landfall yesterday in the Eastern Caribbean.
It brought 150-mile-per-hour winds and dangerous storm surge to Grenada's Carriacou Island. It is an unusually strong storm for this time of year, in part because of record high ocean temperatures.
Hey, I think it's going in and out. I don't know if it's just me.
On the ground. I mean, we're talking about stronger winds.
Hey, yo, I couldn't hear any of that last part. I don't know if y'all can hear me. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, Buwana.
I don't know. I think that's cool.
Your mic's still doing the same thing too, though, Buwana.
It's still that now?
Yeah.
You hear me now?
Yeah, it's louder, but it's like it's I can hear what you. Yeah, it's like kind of going in and out, but I can hear what you're saying though.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the hell it is, man. I don't know. Let me see if I can change the microphone or something. I don't know.
My apologies. My computer just acted up just now, so I'm pretty sure you guys didn't hear that last article, right?
I heard it was going in and out, but then I couldn't hear nothing for a while. I only heard the first few minutes.
All right, let me try it again. But Bakari's out there saying peace and black power. He says forecast came up when I'm not there.
I don't know. Is it that he don't come up when I am here, or?
That's a
I
good question.
I think it's the other way around. That he is very.
We still got some crackling there, Buana. I'm gonna try to play that again.
Oh, I don't know what to do, man, because it's so and I have all these headphones. You know, I hate the microphone. I don't know what I need to do. Maybe I need to recycle. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to recycle the whole thing. So if I go out, you know what I'm doing.
All right, yeah, I couldn't really understand what you were saying. It sounded like it was doubling up or tripling up. If you want to go and come back, yeah, you could do that. Sorry about all this, guys. Let me share this thing again. I don't know why this computer waits until I get live to act up. Okay, so I should be sharing my screen. Good. I'll play it again. I don't know if this was a strike or something, but I'll play it again. It's a 3-minute listen, as you see it says on the screen. Then we'll discuss it.
To take plans ahead of time. Jennifer Collins is a professor at the School of Geosciences at the University of South Florida. She says the time to prepare.
All right. You know what? I don't know why that didn't start over. Let me just read this thing. So the article says record temperatures driven by climate change help to fuel Hurricane Beryl. Hurricane Beryl is an unusually strong storm for this time of year, and it gains strength unusually fast. That's in part because of record high ocean temperatures driven by climate change. So the host says Hurricane Beryl strengthened to Category 5 status after making landfall yesterday in the Eastern Caribbean. The other host says it brought 150 miles per hour winds and dangerous storm surge to Grenada's Carriacou Island. It is an unusually strong storm for this time of year, in part because of record high ocean temperatures. Michael Copley joined them from NPR's Climate Change Desk to discuss Beryl. It was a Category 4 storm on Sunday, and then it got to a 5 late yesterday. I mean, it's the earliest in the year. Michael says it's early in the season. This is a big storm, and it got big fast, and that's exactly the kind of thing climate scientists have been expecting. We're seeing record high ocean temperatures, which fuel hurricanes, and those record temperatures are being driven by climate change. Burning fossil fuels releases gases like carbon dioxide that trap heat and make the air in oceans warmer. Andrew Garner is a hurricane expert at Rowan University in New Jersey. She says warm water allowed Beryl to grow so quickly over the weekend that it shocked a lot of people. It's startling because it's not something we've seen before, but in terms of the science, it is unfortunately kind of right in line with what we expect when we're warming the planet. So Copley says, Ghana published a study last year that found the odds of a storm quickly growing into a major hurricane has gone up in recent decades as climate change has gotten worse. That's still an area of active research, but it's clear that hotter temperatures are making hurricanes stronger. Martinez says, so what's that look like for people on the ground? Copley says, I mean, we're talking about stronger winds and more water. Beryl hit parts of the Caribbean yesterday with catastrophic winds, life-threatening storm surge. Grenada's prime minister said the island of Carriacou was flattened. Buildings were destroyed and damaged. Communications were down. You know, when we talk about a Category 4 hurricane, we're talking about winds up to 156 miles per hour. That can cause severe damage to homes, tear off roofs, knock down trees, but the most dangerous threats often water and flooding. For coastal communities, a big risk is from storm surge. It's essentially walls of water that get pushed onshore. Rain is also a growing threat. Warmer air can hold more moisture, so really big hurricanes can hold a lot of water vapor that comes down as torrential rain. That can threaten inland communities and might not be right in the path of the storm. Martinez says, you know, forecasters are expecting an unusually high number of hurricanes this year. So what, if anything, can people do to prepare? Copley says, yeah, we're expecting a really active season. In part, that's because of those really warm temperatures we talked about. And we've seen that these storms can grow really fast. So experts warn people need to take plans ahead of time. Jennifer Collins is a professor at the School of Geosciences at the University of South Florida. She says the time to prepare is before the storm, not after a hurricane is announced. So Jennifer Collins says, because as you can see, that can happen very quickly. So they need to be kind of thinking very early about all their preparations to be ready for a hurricane. Copley says that means packing bags you can grab in a hurry and plan ahead of time how you'd evacuate and where you'd shelter. Burrell's expected to pass near Jamaica on Wednesday, where heavy rains and flash floods are possible. Martinez says that's Michael Copley from NPR's Climate Desk. Michael, thanks. So that's the transcript of the video I was trying to play. I just wanted to make sure you guys could get it and could hear it without there being a problem. Lero's in the chat saying, hey, loved ones, it's been a minute. Yes, it has, my dear. Where have you been? Where have you been? Real Black Gentleman is out there in the chat. He says, just when Africa is getting its oil out the ground, all of a sudden the carbon is making the weather crazy. Yeah, right. You know, Real Black Gentleman, I was thinking that same thing. I was thinking that same thing. All of a sudden there's talk about engines that running off water, where over the years we heard about men being killed for that kind of thing. Why is that happening all of a sudden? And I was thinking, it's probably because we're starting to discover our own oil in certain black nations, and soon enough, if we stick with it, we'll be able to pull that shit off the ground ourselves. But I digress. Real Black Gentleman is here with us on the panel. So let me start, Real Black Gentleman. How are you this week, Real Black Gentleman?
Man, I'm straight.
Good. I like your comment, obviously. So expand on that for me, please.
All right, look, I mean, I've said this a lot of times. It's just like climate change is just a ruse. It's like, the weather is making vulnerable people, you know what I'm saying, because of the climate. You know what I'm saying? It's just a cycle of nonsense. It's a tautology. Well, I don't want to describe it, but it's you can't sit here and say that the weather there's a lot to it. So let me try to break it down point by point. And if I'm missing anything, help me clear it up. Right now, people measure, temperature and all that, right? But the problem is devices for measuring temperature are only about, not even really 200 years old. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there was something in like 1800, but actual like thermometers, like, and even then, when you sit here and say a measuring device, them devices weren't as accurate. And then you can come on, as you go forward and forward, you get devices that are more and more sensitive. Sometimes, though, devices can be too sensitive. So when they sit here, or, devices, numbers can be, fudged or whatnot, because everything's computerized, you know what I'm saying? You just put in a 9 where 8 was type stuff. And you know what I'm saying? When you print out the image, it's crazy. I'm just saying, right? So, like, there's that, the whole idea, like I'm saying, with vulnerable populations, it's like, every time a storm happens, it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, storms happen all the time. They've happened long before people have been trying to record them or anything like that and do like hard, heavy meteorology. So I'm just like, a lot of it is based off of faulty premises. I don't have time when Africa has resources. If we could actually just like, shake off them white folks and, get the house, you know what I'm saying, Negro that might want to sell it out to the multinationals, just give us some time and we can do what we need to do with our resources. That's part of it. What you're not going to do is saying that, well, fossil fuels, a whole part of this, cycle of nonsense. What do you mean? Like we're just now finding oil. We can sell the oil. We can sell gasoline if we need to. Like, but all of a sudden it's just bad. It's a what's the word I want to say? Cognitive dissonance, man. There's just the whole idea. A lot of this is coming from NPR. That's one thing I don't like. Black people have storm gods. You know what I'm saying? Black people have storm gods. And so, like, all of a sudden it's because of, what are they saying? Are these people trying to infer in a way that because we are doing something. We are angering the storm. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of convolution in the whole climate change, just the narrative of everything. Greenhouse gases, you know, all of a sudden everything has greenhouse properties, but it's like, you know, in the daytime, yeah, things get warm, but at night, you know, I'll say it like this: on a clear day, you know, it can get fairly hot, but if that you know, next night, that consecutive night, the night after that hot day, if there's no clouds, it's going to cool down very fast. You know, clouds do moderate temperature in a way, you know, more so than even carbon. You know what I'm saying? If you have a cloudy day, you know what I'm saying, it's going to be a little cooler because it's blocking out the sun, right? But the night won't be as cold. It won't be as cold. You know, I'm just, a lot of the whole idea that heat is being trapped is not quite, is not, you know, it's not really a greenhouse. I mean, it's a glass, comparing glass to like molecules in the atmosphere, it's just not it. It's a crude way of trying to, like, you know, get people this idea that we're just in a greenhouse. And the whole idea, the calling it greenhouse has more subliminalness because we're supposed to go green. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of just silliness to it. I give it no credence. I know it's fake. I know any people's out there kind of giving it credence, especially like when they companies and stuff, they just trying to like give from one hand. It's like, you know, if we can't use fossil fuels, I mean, how am I going to cook? You know, you're going to have batteries, or, you know what I'm saying, everything will be electric. And then, like, you know what I'm saying, we have power grids and stuff. I mean, it's like, it's just not a practical thing. I mean, for Black people to be even thinking about like trying to go green or anything like that. Now, I'm going to say that in terms of like the fuel, although you do have trash, you don't want trash everywhere. You know what I'm saying? The plastics can be an issue, and plastics are generally made from oil, although there are some plastics. Initially, in fact, I think some of the first plastics were made out of like vegetables and like you know, like organic materials. So let me take that back. They didn't really start refining oil until like, I mean, that was after, you know, they started making like cellophane and stuff. That's like a plasticky thing, but it's like made of organic materials. Which, I mean, some people say that oil is, you know, well, some people say, well, oil isn't organic. So, like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot to the whole climate thing. Like, oil is possibly not made of organic material. They say fossil, but what fossil makes oil? Are we sure? I mean, we can say that fossils can make coal for sure. But what fossils make natural gas? Like, for real, for real, for real. They say fossil because they want to make it old and give it an old connotation. People got to recognize the connotation game, the sleight of hand that words infer that lead your mind to conclusions that aren't really, like, you know, commonsensical. They just don't want you to do certain things. They want you to buy batteries that the African people don't make, that are going to be hell of expensive, that you constantly have to buy more of and buy more of and buy more of. That's another way to, it's a way to like restrict the people. You can make better engines. You can make engines out of a lot of things, but it's the nature of restricting and throttling ingenuity in any sense. So if I have a propane tank, I can, you know, do things. I can have industry. You know what I'm saying? I can be very innovative in my own devices, right? But if I can't have simple energy, and I have to like, but it's, use a battery. And then, you know, batteries are hard to dispose of. They can be very toxic. So it's like a whole nother process. You got to pay for the, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, when we talk about the you know, some of the problems, the hazards of oil and natural gas, I mean, with oil, I mean, with gasoline, you know what I'm saying? If, you know what I'm saying, the fumes can be heavy, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's not so much smoke, you know what I'm saying? It's like, smoke is only depending on what is being burned. So like, if you burn, you know, a whole bunch of stuff, it's going to have a whole bunch of smoke. I mean, gasoline can be heavier, but you have, you know, thinner, like, you know, lighter fuels that can be, you know, as you distill out the fuels from the petroleum that burn a little cleaner. You know what I'm saying? Like ethanol, you know what I'm saying? There's cleaner. I mean, there's a whole, I mean, some people know this better than I do. I would have to look it up. But I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? You have gasoline. You have the different diffractions as the different vapors distill at different temperatures. I just think that black people have to look at it and just like, yo, like they trying to like shut, restrict gas stations in a way. Cause I mean, truth be told, a lot of the gas companies are in cahoots with the whole green movement. And what's going to be is it's just going to be a racist play to get black people in developed countries, who generally don't have resources to kind of like force us to squeeze us around. Because I mean, it's just one more stressor to like, let's say reducing gas stations, let's say, on some I'm saying restructuring of the company. I'm just not with that. I don't want to ramble too much. There is no global warming. I mean, not the way that these people are talking about. It's not making the weather bad. There were terrible storms, 500, 600 years ago. You know what I'm saying? There had to be. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that, droughts and, all kinds of stuff happen. Well, just heavy rains that just go on for a week, let's say, in places. I mean, these things have happened before. Let's not get, because the white man put it on paper and recorded, ever recorded. When them white people say ever recorded, you got to be careful about that, because these people make up stuff and not know the context and the parameters of what they're talking about that they're recording, because their recordings aren't based off a solid foundation. That foundation was already inaccurate. I'm gonna pass the mic.
I appreciate that, RBG. You were correct about the different it's different distillates. Like kerosene it distills a different temperature from, say, diesel. Natural gas comes from fossilized plants that decayed under layers of the earth over time, and what it releases is the natural gas. The one thing I will disagree with you with, and I know it's a funny topic to discuss, but there is climate change, whether this white man said it or not, but there's climate change, because if you look at the beginning and the ending of the Ice Age, those are two climate change events, for example, right? What has happened is, like D. Webb from the Harsh Reality podcast would say, climates always change every whatever number of centuries or whatever. Climates will change. The difference, though, is that because of the industrialization that these white folks brought about, not just that, because they don't really care about measures, safety measures, and all that kind of stuff. These white folks will come and tell you they reduced emissions 300%, but they wouldn't tell you it was already 15,000% over what's supposed to be. So it's their industrialization that can bring about a quicker, swifter, and more vicious climate change than the ones that we've seen before. And I think that's the thing we have to be careful of. I mean, right now in Africa, from my understanding, through Kenya there, and I wish one of our Kenyan counterparts was here. But from what I understand, like, the continent is splitting in East Africa, and it's increasing. It has to do with these damn, hotter temperatures, hot water, and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I'll disagree with you, because I mean, you could look at it and see that climates do change. It usually takes a long time, but we're kind of bringing it faster, and we're making.
Oh, okay, can I make a brief rebuttal? Now I'll be done. Yes. I just think that, in light of the fact that these white people done built up all their stuff with all this heavy industry, with all this heavy energy. And now, because they done figured out all the simple fruit, and now that black people are actually looking with their own devices, with their own sense, finding oil and natural gas, we should just like interrupt all of that and not think about how we can actually like have material. You do want to have material, upkeep. You do want that. I just think that when we say that, I really think that we're really. I mean, I don't care if the climate changes or not. And I don't care that that can't stop. We can't sit here and just like, just not use oil. We're sitting ducks. It makes us, in any kind of like strategic sense, we would be slowed down. We would be sitting ducks. It would set us up for extinction, basically, literal extinction. I'm just saying. I just don't think that we should just be walking around just like it was in the 1500s. I'm done.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No, I mean we cannot not use oil if that's what we have, but that's also why we got to get away from these folks and get away from their reality. We need to figure out for ourselves what's the way we want to go. We got to start doing this studying ourselves too. That's another thing that we don't talk about enough. I think we have to rely on what these people report, right? Because we don't have the people going into these areas and coming out, giving us the reports, black man to black man. So we kind of have to listen to some of this stuff. We have to pass through some of this stuff that they give us and understand what it really means. So it's a bit of a problem that we're in because we're not really doing the work that we need to be doing. We're sitting down waiting for this guy to give us his information. Thanks for that, RBG. Let me go to the forecast. Forecast, what's it?
Yeah, I'll say this. Well, first let me say I'm not like an expert on like climate change or nothing. So I just want to say that. But I do want to say that I like there is effects that like for sure. I agree with what Coco was saying. I do agree with RBG as far as like not being stagnant. But the thing is, everything is like interconnected. You know what I'm saying? Like the earth is like a living organism, right? And if you like tear down a bunch of trees and like get up a bunch of resources out the ground like more faster than you should, or you know what I'm saying, do certain things, it has an effect. Even if you kill all the bees or something, then it'll have a chain reaction. You know what I'm saying? So like it does have an effect, but it's like where I would agree with you is like because Europeans are never going to stop doing what they do. You know what I'm saying? They just kill and destroy stuff for fun. You know what I'm saying? We know that this is just how they operate. So the thing is like it's going to continue unless like you're going to do something about it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's one thing. But like it's being able to fix it like, and also having like think tanks like, is it possible to be able to use it somehow for your benefit or something? You know what I'm saying? Like hurricanes be that like, because that's a problem when like, because I ain't really think about it like that, because you could get stronger storms in a certain thing, you know what I'm saying? And like, can you use that energy or something, or finding some kind of way to like make it work for you? But like the one thing that Europeans don't understand is like how everything is interconnected. Like if you do one thing, it affects something else. You know what I'm saying? Like these fools is set off nuclear bombs in the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? They just send it into space just to see what would happen in space, and they was like, oh well, wow, it's nuclear fallout after that. You know what I'm saying? So like, of course these things have an effect. So like, are we going to like, first of all, like if you're going to stop them from taking and destroying the land and the trees and all type of stuff, because that's really what's going on. And then they building all of these kind of things where people is cluttered, and then you in these cities with like cars and all this type of stuff, and then hell, the food that we eat, all of this stuff is the same. You know what I'm saying? So like, like that's one thing is like, we can't sleep on how like the earth itself is a living organism, and if you make it sick, it'll do something to make itself heal, even if that's getting rid of the sickness. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, like as far as like the hurricane part, I mean, I don't know, like it's finding a way to use the wind energy. I'm like I said, I ain't no scientist. I don't know. It's probably more genius people out there than me that can figure it out, because we know that this is going to be a reality. You know what I'm saying? We know that there is hurricanes and earthquakes that affects Black countries, and then they use those events to us to make money itself, you know what I'm saying, off of our destruction. So they making money hand over fist at the hands of, so like it comes up to us to being prepared, because now we know the playbook. We know that they're going to destroy everything, and we know that we aren't going to get help. So it comes down to like, are we gonna find a way to help or do whatever? But but yeah, man, like they have. If you have no respect for the earth is gonna do what it does. You know what I'm saying? But so I'll pass the mic.
Absolutely, forecast. Absolutely. I appreciate that. Let's welcome in our boy brother Bakari this week. Bakari, how are you this week?
I'm great, man. How about y'all? What's going on? You know what? Man. Thanks for letting me speak. I'm glad Forecast went ahead and said, everybody come on the panel. There's more people out here more genius than me. Y'all know he was talking about me, right? Thank you, Forecast, for giving me them props.
You the one, hey, McCall, you the one person in here I went. No,
but look, man, I ain't gonna be on here long because I'm finna go on this spot. But I just wanted to say this. I heard him talking about storms. I know Donald Trump would rather be electrocuted in the storm than being eaten by a shark. So y'all should vote for him for that. I believe in climate change. Yeah, you see the climate change. The people that's talking about climate change creating the change, cutting down all the trees. The more trees they cut down, the less wild animals you see. Like, man, it's hard as hell to say you want to go deer hunting. I've been trying to get into that. It's hard because ain't no damn deers. We don't even know what they did with the deers because they done cut down all the trees. They are changing the climate, global warming. Like this, when you cut down the tree, building all this stuff, this heat, this concrete, man, it don't make no sense. It's Mississippi is Africa. Mrs. Down south in Africa is the same thing nowadays when they come with their heat. But you know what? I just want to come up here, man, and just show a little love. Cause I can't be on here long. I'm gonna step in this place. It's gonna be real loud. I just wanted to come on here and show some love to my people, to everybody on the panel, and to everybody in chat. That was my main reason for coming up here. And y'all remember, Donald Trump don't want to be eaten by a shark in the storm. He'd rather be electrocuted. So y'all think about who you're gonna vote for, because that is what he said. Ain't that what he said? So y'all think about who you're gonna vote for on the basis of that. And on that note, man, peace and one love. I'm gonna have to holler at y'all later because where I'm stepping at is gonna be real loud.
All right, take care, brother Bakari. Thanks for coming through. With that said, let's hear from Buana. Buana, could the West's refusal to deal with climate change have to do with the fact that Black nations will have to deal with the worst impacts first?
I hope this microphone is clear, and because I'm on the laptop now, so I hope y'all are able to hear me. Okay, so the question is, to me, it's a little bit confusing. So because I don't see how the West could deal with climate. Well, I guess I understand why in that way, but the example is with the hurricanes. I don't see how the West could deal with the fact that hurricanes happen in the Caribbean almost every year. I guess they say what they're trying to say, if I was to interpret the statement, is because what man is doing on the planet right now is causing, you see these large hurricanes happening right now, one after another, but they've been happening. I think that I echo a lot of forecast sentiments. Forecast say he's not a professional, but some of the things, just based on observation, the things that what he says is very credible, very credible. You know, man does not have the ability to harness the weather yet, or even Mother Nature. We are still at the mercy of Mother Nature. You know, despite the fact that technologically we seem to have a lot of things that quote unquote might make our lives better. I think the reality is we are still at the mercy of Mother Nature. You know, one hurricane. You know what hurricanes do, not only in the Caribbean but on the whole eastern seaboard. You know, when snow happens, blizzard happens, we are at the mercy of blizzards. You know, man can't intervene technologically as yet. You know, we are not in the place as yet where we could affect and harness the weather or even manipulate it to such a degree where we could use it for our own means. We don't have the technology yet in doing these kinds of things. So we still at the mercy of that. I also echo forecast sentiments when he says that the earth is a organism. I think it's a self-regulating organism, and I think that if we do things that threatens this organism, like any organism, large organism, what is it going to do? It's going to get rid of that threat. So if human beings or if man presents itself as a threat to this organism called planet Earth, well, it's going to get rid of us. You know, as a real black gentleman is saying, he was talking about get the fact that we might not exist anymore. We'll leave this planet. And if these people keep on messing around, they will find out. Unfortunately, the innocent sometimes is have to suffer for the guilty. But the guilty gonna get caught up in it as well. Make no mistake about it. They're gonna get caught up in it as well. They're just one tsunami. So see, the eastern part of the world have been experiencing mega tsunamis. But the West has not necessarily experienced a large tsunami that will wipe out the whole eastern seaboard. They only create movies in terms of these kinds of things happening. But if you keep on messing around, you're gonna find out. You know what I mean? We are just visitors on this not visitors, but we are residents. We don't own the planet. We don't own the planet. We are residents here. And if this planet, this organism decides to get rid of you, by gosh, it will. And if you do things that threatens this organism, it will get rid of you. So I tend to side with forecast sentiments and some of the things that he was saying. He basically said a lot of the things that I would have said before me. So I would just rest my comments on that.
I appreciate that, Buana. And welcome back, by the way, Buana. You were missed last week. With that said, let's hear from our boy Black Seal. Black Seal, how are you this week?
I'm doing great. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for coming
Okay.
through.
Hey man, I'm not gonna be on too long. I'm outside myself, like Bakari, but I just wanted to touch on this topic because this is my topic I posted. To Buana's point, there's always been hurricanes, right? But I think one thing about this particular storm is how fast it grew. It went from a Category 1 to a Category 4 in like in like 24 hours. That's something that's never been happened before. And another thing is that this is a storm. This hurricane season starts, May 30th, and this is already the end of June. You already have a large Category 5 storm. Um, that's unprecedented. We don't usually see this type of storm until later in the season, and the reason is that because of the temperature of the water. So the ocean acts as a heat sink. So we're talking about the burning carbon, and causing the global temperatures to rise. The ocean absorbs a lot of that heat, which drives the ocean temperatures up. As we all know, warm water fuels hurricanes. So these storms are coming. They're coming sooner. They're becoming stronger more quickly, which it doesn't give people time to prepare for the storms. And it's mostly hitting nations that are majority black, which is why I don't really see the urgency. So even though it's going to eventually come and bite us, and those of us who live in the United States, which is the world's largest polluter, which is the one causing most of the shit, they're not really making any changes to it. Not only not making changes, they're actually passing laws to prevent you from making changes to where you can't even hold these companies accountable for the damage they're doing. I believe that African people should progress. However, we shouldn't progress at the risk of the planet. We don't have another planet to live on. I'm sorry. There's not a spare planet you can pull out the back of your trunk and go live on. We don't have that. It's the only planet we got, and we should take care of it. So the technology exists. It's not a matter that we don't have the technology. It exists out there. The problem is that it's not profitable. So now you have to deal with not only white supremacy, but you have to deal with capitalism, because the methods to produce the energy, for example, solar energy is very affordable. They were producing so much energy at one point, it was producing an excess of energy. But the problem is that they can't make money from it. So they rather continue to use the fossil fuels, which are destroying the ecosystem, instead of using the technologies that are already available. So that, I think, is something that we need to point on. So we really do have to understand that as African people, these people have no desire to fix it because they're making money. And it's not even most white people. There's only like a handful of white people who are really making the money, making the billions of dollars. But they're willing to sacrifice, the long-term sustainability of life on Earth just to make sure they have another excellent third and fourth quarter. That's something that we really have to understand. That these damages are being. Look at what's going on. A couple in Sahel. They literally had almost 1,500 people die in Mecca during the Muslim pilgrimage. because the temperature was so hot, the human body couldn't cool itself off by perspiration. People are dying in this heat wave, but nobody really paying attention to it because it's not happening in the developed nations of so-called developed nations of the West. But once it starts to head here, then you'll start to see attention. By that point, it'll be too late. So, Bakari, I'm gonna continue to listen in. But yes, sir.
Before you go,
Mhm.
and I appreciate you coming through. But
Yes,
look at
sir.
this comment, Trigger Happy right here. Do you have any ideas? How do we industrialize and balance the preservation of the earth as Pan-Africans? Like, how do we make that a part of the program? I guess.
Well, I think the industrialization that Black people the African people have to use, has to be done through renewable resources. Like Africa has plenty of sunshine. The solar technology exists. They have plenty of mighty rivers. You have the Niger River. You have hydroelectric power that can be used sustainably. You don't have to rely on just drilling oil. So the resources that exist are already there, and we could use those resources to continue to develop the continent. So yeah, they can because the thing about it is African people we've always lived in harmony with nature. Most of the Earth's megafauna, the large megafauna like the lions, giraffes, there were lions all over the world at one point. There were lions in America, there were lions in Europe, only lions in Africa now. Like one little small part in India. You have leopards and elephants and great herds of wildebeest. Those were once found all over the world, but right now they're usually only found in Africa because Africans have always lived in harmony with nature. I think we have to really just lean on our own indigenous structures, our own technology, and our own ways of living that we've always relied on. Those ways are best. In fact, they're the oldest ways. Even Africans, they built mighty empires in Kemet and below the Sahara, but they didn't exterminate the giraffe. They didn't exterminate the hippopotamuses. That didn't happen until after the Arabs took over. That's when you start to see the removal of all that African wildlife. When you see the African gods with the head of crocodile and hippopotamus and all the other stuff, they were doing that based on the animals that they saw. And once the Africans were no longer in control of their land, the Arabs showed up and they started wiping out all the wildlife. So we already had the systems in place. We just got to rediscover those.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. In the chat, Trigger Happy 262 Plus agreed with you. He says Joke was talking about this before anyone. Shout out to Uwa Bantum out there in the chat saying salutations from Florida, Jacksonville. Trigger Happy says, and again, we need to go back to our culture again. We need to drop this talk about African spirituality not being quote unquote logical and quote unquote impractical if we know our lives are at stake. Sister Lero says the cruising industry, warfare, these naval tests they are doing in the waters for weapons and whatnot. The ocean is critical to climate change. Lero finally says people's rebuttal to climate change too, rooted in conspiracy. It's like the conversation around Antarctica. Trigger Happy agrees with that as well. Is there any last thoughts by any of my panelists?
Definitely.
Oh.
Go ahead, Forecast. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, first of all, the Arabs, they're from Egypt, so they should be all right over there, you know what I'm saying, no matter how high they get, you know what I'm saying. But I will say this, before capitalism, there was like feudal, like Europeans like have a destructive nature, a destructive core, and no matter what system they are under or you're under with them, you know what I'm saying, is going to lead to, you know what I'm saying, the end, you know what I'm saying, especially if you don't take care, because that's just a natural thing. Like they just like certain groups respect that. You don't play around with certain things, but certain groups just don't do that. You know what I'm saying? But then also I wanted to say, I was watching like the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? Like one of the things, right? And and I always thought about it because if like an asteroid or something come and hit the earth or something happened, we would have to rely on them to do something. And in that movie, you know what I'm saying, like made the sky black or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if something happened, like as whatever they do right now, we would rely on them, and it would be the end for us. So like just thinking about like the hurricane part, but just on a global catastrophe, like who's going to be the one making decisions about how we're going to be protected, and like that should be like scary in itself. But I'll pass the mic.
Yeah. So okay. So I understand when Black Steel says that we live with nature, and that's a beautiful feature of the African experience. The Black man has always lived alongside nature. However, don't say that we are also and still are at the mercy of nature as well. We still at the mercy of nature because when Black Steel says that there is technology out there for certain things in regards to the environment in which we live in, as far as solar energy, as far as using dams, as far as wind energy and all. I understand that. I understand that in terms of creating alternative forms of energy, and the fact that he says that it's not viable because it doesn't bring in the money, it's the resources. I understand that as well. But what's confusing to me is what is the technology that stops a 4 category degree hurricane? How can you harness that kind of weather? I don't understand. What is the technology for that? Because I don't think that man has produced that kind of technology as yet. Or for a tsunami, harnessing the power of a tsunami. Or even the thing with the spin around and around in Texas. Well, what is it? Tornado. There are certain things within the environment that yes, we do have the technology for, that we can harness the power of, but there are certain things that exist within nature that we are still at the mercy of. We are still at the mercy of. And one last thing, because Forecast made a comment. Forecast said that when he was watching a movie, he said that these white guys was intervening and stepping in to protect us from certain things that was in space and things of that nature. One of the things that I recognize and realize after having lived through a category 4, more than one hurricane, and when it completely devastates the environment, how alone we are. How alone we are, how the community has to come together to move trees, to rebuild, to reestablish ourselves. Because people, from my point of view, they make external promises of how they gonna come in and fix shit. But in reality, when that help never comes, then you are on your own. You have to figure out your own problems on your own. For some people, that's the worst scenario, the worst situation. For me, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as the best scenario. Because how you gonna learn about yourself, or how you gonna create a world around you but for always having to resort to rely on somebody else? Because when the Clintons promised billions of dollars to come to Haiti after the hurricane, that money never arrived. It was the Haitians who had to work out their issues, and still having to work out their issues. To me, that's the best position possible, when you don't have to rely on other. Because what if that other never comes? You know what I mean? You could be like the Christians waiting for Jesus to come back to save you from your situation. What if he never come back? So I think that yes, there is technology that the Black man has to rely on and look to. And even specializing, in the different sciences and certain things or whatever, that is an absolute fact. But also, I think that self-sufficiency is something that we need to push in these days and times too. Because what if the white man don't have your best interest at heart and in his mind if calamity befalls you? What if there is no person to come and rescue you? What do you do then? What does the Black man do then? Brother Bakari always talks about the fact that we are unprepared. He always talk. I still waiting for him to give preparation episodes and preppers kind of YouTube information and things like that, because he don't tell us. He does his lambasis for not being prepared. But I waiting for him to create episodes in self-sufficiency, in living off of the land, in the how-tos of doing certain things. I still waiting for them episodes. But I think that that's where we need to be currently under this day and time. Self-sufficiency is imperative, because you can't rely on your enemies if calamity befalls you. That's the seed that I would plant in terms of this prompt. But I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Buana. If there's no other last thoughts here, I'll go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2. In the chat, Trigger Happy 262 Plus says agreed. Our self-sufficiency is so crucial. Lastly, he says, but this is why new governments conducive to the masses is very crucial. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2 tonight. Shooter Breeze topic number 2 says, is this Pride Month a black event in America? That could be fighting words in some places. This takes us to Twitter, and it takes us to a tweet from Nick Sauter. It says, Justin, massive brawls are breaking out at the Pride Parade in NYC. What an end to quote-unquote Pride Month with the laughter emoji. It's a 2-minute video. We'll watch it maybe twice if necessary, but we'll discuss it after we view it. Unlike the popular Bahamian song that says once is not enough, I think once is enough for that particular video. Trigger Happy 262 Plus in the chat says, is this prompt saying that because of the high amount of black people present? I think so. I'm just looking at the folks in the audience, and clearly it's overwhelmingly, a lot of black folks mixed up in this brawling going on at Pride Month. It's also very funny to me sometimes, and when I say funny, I mean ironically funny, in a bad way funny. They put Pride Month in the same month with Juneteenth. Then they made Juneteenth a federal holiday within that Pride Month, and they started to push when they announced Juneteenth a couple years ago as a holiday. They was pushing Juneteenth with a lot of those rainbow colors involved. So, it's undeniable what these folks are doing or trying to do with the black community. Let me mix it up a little bit. Let me start with Buana on this one. Buana, what say you to this?
Pride mean like proud black gay people, right? That's what that means, like Pride Month, proud gay people. Well,
proud.
Yeah, so it seemed like it's a bunch of young people. Yeah, so young people, I don't blame. Well, I do blame, but I say that when you see a large swath of a bunch of young black folks, well, a young people, not even black folks, young people in general, it always devolves into some confusion, especially when you put some if alcohol is around and if drugs is around, it seemed to devolve into like Lero say degeneracy. Me personally, I try to stay away when I know that the crowd is going to be very young, and it's going to be alcohol there, and possibly drugs. I try to stay away from it. I try to go to wherever the event is playing, like blues or jazz. I know that's going to not draw a certain element of people. That's all I'm about to say. But or even certain kinds of reggae music, because I would never go in an audience full with people who listening to Vibes Cartel either. So I tend to stay away from large crowds where I hear certain music played, because I know it can devolve into nonsense. So I try to stay away from it. As far as Pride Month, man, Coco, I'm a grown man. Come on, man. That's not really a for me question. If any gay listeners, black revolutionary black people who are gay, maybe they could come up and personally explain this way better than I can. This ain't really a topic for a person like myself. So I'll pass it on to any brothers who may want to comment on it.
Hopefully, James Baldwin and Bernard Rustin are listening to the show and will tune in, come up on the panel, and express themselves here. Forecast, what say you to this?
First, I agree with Buwana and the brothers who is in that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Definitely welcome to come on here and speak. I would say this. I don't know what the person, whoever put it up. They can come, I guess, explain what they're trying to get us to comment on, I guess. But I just got a feeling like this was kind of like trying to be funny. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of thing. So I won't even really talk about that. I'll say what you was talking about with the Pride Month and Juneteenth and all of that stuff. Because even with that Kurt Franklin celebration and with the dude sitting there kissing Joe Biden's hand, you know what I'm saying, it became ridiculous. But that's also another thing that is routinely practiced on how they do their politics, as far as like the benign and neglect kind of thing in your face, for an example where you could see where they'll throw in the minorities, people of color, you know what I'm saying? But like most of the gay people was like slave owners, like doing stuff to little boys, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't give a pass to that group or anything like that. But as far as being black, I would say for me, like, I would say I'm black first, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm a straight man, so I'm going to identify with white dudes because if they're straight. No, like I'm identifying with black people. So I'm on black people's side for whatever that's worth, you know what I'm saying? So I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, I feel you on that, Forecast. And I'll be honest, we listened to Forecast some time ago. Forecast made that point one night, and I had to sit and process that for myself. And like, if we're black first, we have to be inclusive of all types of different blacks. What we should ask is that all blacks be black first. Put your sexual proclivities and whatever else, political, put that to the side or put that behind being black. So I appreciate that, Forecast. Last but not least, let's hear from Real Black Gentleman. Is this Pride Month a black event in America based on all these black folks you see in the video? Real Black Gentleman, you're muted if you're there.
I only got three things to say. Straight black pride.
Well said. In the chat, Lero says, black people be queer, unfortunately, and I understand that too, and I've had to reconcile that within myself too. I think the issue I've always had, well, not always, I've long had with the black queer group is that they put their queerness first. There was a guy here in America, a guy named Ed Buck. I think he's free right now. Ed Buck is a dude who has had a handful of black folk, gay black men, die in his in his residencies, overdose, and God knows what else happened. And you don't hear a peep from the gay community. No outrage, no marches, no this, no that. When some black queer person is harmed. And so to me, that should say to black queer folks, maybe I should put my blackness first. And, that's my biggest issue. If anyone wants to comment to that, they can. But Lero says a lot of black queer are black queer only, not even just first. And that's something that needs to be reconciled with. And that's the issue too. Because when you take that stance, then how am I to view you in terms of this movement of connecting people globally and attaining power? I will say, though, and I'll say this with no hesitation, that black queer stuff is not something that you are going to want to promote in a black nation. This has been broken down thousands of years now that if you have a population with a lot of queerness going on, it's an easy to corrupt population. It's an easy to run over population. And so there lies the large issue that I have. First of all, you're not loyal to your race, and then you also participate in this weird sexual practice that leaves you susceptible to being infiltrated by others, being propagandized by others, our enemies, to make it short. And we're supposed to be black first, black only, race first, race only. And then we have you guys with us. It's a problem, and it's something that we need to come to some understanding, some agreement with that group. Does anyone else here on the panel feel that way, or do you guys disagree?
Well, I want to say a couple of things. I mean, my whole thing, I'm just going to again cut to the quick about this. My problem with homosexuality is the eventuality of sodomy. Sodomy spreads disease, period, point blank, whether it be man on man or even female sodomy. It's not it. What winds up happening is that even though women don't tend to that, homosexuality means that the coalition of women and men, bind that. I'm just cutting to the quick. We don't need that. And the problem is you can't give it cover. It spreads disease at a base minimum. That alone is enough. It's not enough that you do it in your house. Look, sodomy spreads disease. It's just the nature of it and the way it incubates, yo. I mean, it causes disease for a reason, and we know this. It's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, I would say, Koku, I agree with about everything, and like I guess people would be like, oh yeah, we don't want. Well, I would say black people in that position. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would say. I don't want black people if they like get lynched or something because they're black. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, you're gay or something. And I don't think anybody would want that. So we agree on that. But and what I would say is like, I guess for me, like, don't bring it like over here, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't got nothing, like, whatever is over there. But it's like Koku said, most of them be like clones, you know what I'm saying? And even he brought up the dude Ed Buck, where all these black dudes showing up in his house getting, you know what I'm saying, dragged off. And then, I ain't even get into like whatever it's kind of like, because I don't even want to get into like that kind of stuff. That's not even my thing, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm like, with the whole situation, black people is, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. I'll pass the mic, but
It's all good.
I
Kofi's
want
on.
to. I want to say something briefly. I think that we are in a situation where our relationships, in terms of male-female partnership and relationship, it has been a challenge for our community, and it's caused the devolution, breaking apart of our houses, and it's caused the separation of our children, being sent to the winds and things like that. I think that this generation has sit down and saw that it takes more than one person to raise a child. A community sometimes raise a child, but in particular, a family is raise a child. And we are in this generation resolving these issues, these shortfalls that generations before us has fell down on. And I think that when you throw these other sexual issues into the pot, I think it creating traumas and identity issues and situations that we don't have time to deal with currently at this point. Where homosexuality in any group of people make up 5 to 10% of a population. In any population, I can't remember the name of the man who came up with that statistic. I can't remember the name of him right now off the top of my head, but say 5 to 10%. Okay, so what about the other 90%? The other 90% is dealing with issues in terms of the opposite sex. So I think that this is the most pressing things. Any community, first and foremost, have to deal with the family structure, and then it builds outside of that. So if I get involved in issues that no necessarily is not representative of the majority of people within my grouping, why am it's like we need to focus on the actual problem itself. You know what I mean? I think that these issues, for people who have to deal with these issues, no problem. But there's a greater community that deal with issues of the opposite sex on a daily basis. And I think that these are... You can hear me? Y'all can't hear me?
No, you...
God damn. You can't put the cart before the horse.
You're back. Go ahead. Go ahead, Barna. Finish your thought.
Yes. So what I'm saying is you can't put the cart... Yes. So I'm saying that you can't put the cart before the horse. You have to put the horse before the cart. Our relationships, our personal relationships, man, woman, male, woman, child relationships, first and foremost. The cart is behind. But it seems like in these Western societies, they're trying to put these issues up front. Where they represent only a small number of our population and grouping. And I think that we need to not get confused about that. Most of us deal with male-female issues or female-male issues. And then outside of that, you have the same gender-loving people on the other. So I say let's deal with the main cause first before we deal with the other issues. That's what I would say. But I'll leave it there.
Hey, Coco, can I say, I remember what I was going to say, because it was like what Lero and Trigger Happy saying in the chat. I was going to say, like, yeah, with that whole men is women, women is men, that, yeah, I don't agree with that being an education. So, yeah, that's a big part, not making sure that whole thing is not in the education system. That's what I wanted to say. My bad.
No. Yeah, that's a good point by all of you, which is what I was trying to say about not celebrating it. We ain't got time for that shit. Celebrate it, but yeah. In the chat, Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, yeah, man, one thing about development that I think about is the family aspect. Korea developed, but they largely have first graders. Sorry, but they barely have first graders. I put that as a prompt, by the way. I didn't see that this week. I'll put up next week. He said we should avoid that. To Lero, he says, I was just about to say that as well. They do distort and misinterpret a lot of stuff, like women marriages were just there so a woman can have children, so like a surrogate. Because earlier, Lero said something to look out for is the Black queer community is trying to make parallels with their lifestyle and identity with pre-colonial Africa, and in turn, distorting history. Yeah, I've seen that, and it's really off-putting to see that too. Trigger says Swahili also made a new term for homosexuality, so that means there wasn't a term previously. I have to look more into this for all African languages. Shout out to Kofi, like I said earlier, who's out there in the chat. Lastly, Trigger Happy says, I think there needs to be a better compilation though to combat them on an academic level. That's the only thing missing. So at the moment, the arguments will reside there, to be honest. If there's no other last thoughts on this prompt here by my panelists, we can go move on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, what are black jobs? I saw Forecast talking about this a little bit the other day too. This comes with a link that's going to take us seemingly to TikTok. So let me make sure I got it all lined up first. All right. So this takes us to TikTok. It is a 1.5-minute video. I'll play it twice if need be. I'll play it twice.
You clarify that. And then I want to ask you specifically, Donald Trump said when it comes to the U.S. border, they're taking black jobs. He was talking about migrants taking black jobs. What is a black job?
Okay. Well, a couple things. First of all, you know what he meant by that, okay? He meant jobs that are filled by African Americans in America and others, Americans in general, but the question in specific was about black voters. He didn't ask that question, the moderators did, and so he segued into the impact that it's had on black voters, and that is very simple. When you flood a country with millions of people, you're gonna have more competition for work. You are, and those workers are willing to do it at a lower wage. And that you see that in some of the fields like construction and trades. It impacts Hispanic communities as well. On your first question, look, the United States didn't invade Iraq.
I'm sorry.
The United States didn't come across. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
No. You were going to ask me something.
I wanted to clarify on what you were just saying about black jobs. You seem to be saying these are low-wage jobs.
No, they're not low-wage jobs. These are working-class jobs.
Well, you talk about migrants taking low-wage jobs, and that he was talking about black voters.
No, what I said is that migrants are willing to come in and do it at a lower wage. They are, because they are willing to take work at a lower wage than an American would. And as a result, they get hired and not the American. And that is something that people have talked about for a long time. I didn't make that up. I'm not the first person to make that observation.
So you seem to be implying that. Can you clarify that? And then I want to ask you specifically, Donald Trump said when it comes to the U.S. border, they're taking black jobs. He was talking about migrants taking black jobs. What is a black job?
Okay. Well, a couple things. First of all, you know what he meant by that, okay? He meant jobs that are filled by African Americans in America and others, Americans in general, but the question in specific was about black voters. He didn't ask that question, the moderators did, and so he segued into the impact that it's had on black voters, and that is very simple. When you flood a country with millions of people, you're going to have more competition for work. You are, and those workers are willing to do it at a lower wage. And that you see that in some of the fields like construction and trades. It impacts Hispanic communities as well. On your first question, look, the United States didn't invade Iraq.
I'm sorry.
The United States didn't come across. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
No. You were going to ask me something.
I wanted to clarify on what you were just saying about black jobs. You seem to be saying these are low-wage jobs.
No, they're not low-wage jobs. These are working-class jobs.
Well, you talk about migrants taking low-wage jobs, and that he was talking about black voters.
No, what I said is that migrants are willing to come in and do it at a lower wage. They are, because they are willing to take work at a lower wage than an American would. And as a result, they get hired and not the American. And that is something that people have talked about for a long time. I didn't make that up. I'm not the first person to make that observation.
Yeah, so you guys probably heard all this talk this past week about black jobs. And like Lero is hinting at in the chat, a lot of folks started making these jokes about black jobs. So, I'm going to mix it up again. Buono, what was your take on all the black jobs talk this past week?
I know you're going to come at me with this one. I think it's a nothing burger. I know my brethren my brethren, Kofi chomping at the bits with the whole black jobs coming from Donald Trump. But I think it's a nothing burger. I understand the president of the United States. If the president of the United States says something that the citizens they pass through everything what he says, and they get, they use the liberals gonna use everything that he says, and they can create a narrative from it. The reality is what this man said is exactly true. It's exactly true. That's what I think. Because if immigrants come in, flooding, illegal immigrants come in and flood into the United States of America, many of them will be willing to work for any money, because how they see situation. We had this conversation before in terms of capitalism. They figure that a whole bunch that $10 an hour is better than no dollars an hour. But the indigenous population will look at it and say, well, wait a minute, $10 an hour for me is not a livable wage. That is a problem for me. So there's going to be contention there. There's absolutely going to be contention there. What Mark Rubio is not saying is he talks about the fight between the two laborers, but he doesn't talk about the owner of the company who is exploiting the both of these people and saying, well, hey, if you're willing to work for $25 an hour, we're going to hire this guy over here for $10 an hour and undercut you. Then you will make no dollars an hour, but I can still have my company functioning. He would not say that. And his Trump and his cohorts, because he does this. Trump, this is the business practices of Trump. Trump hires immigrant labor all the time. He hires immigrant labor all the time. He ain't gonna tell the American voter that, but he hires immigrant labor all the time. I don't personally think that the president saying black jobs or white jobs is gonna move the needle to a focused mind or a focused a mind. Who cares what he says and thinks? If you living in a so-called free economy, if he thinks that my job status is supposed to be pushing a broom, it's my responsibility to develop a skill level, a skill where I don't have to push a broom for the rest of my life, or pick fruit under a South Floridian sun for the rest of my life. My job is to develop a skill or a trade set where I don't have to do these kinds of things, where I could develop a skill where people will be willing to pay me more for my money. I don't have to fight with the immigrants just coming in. That's my job as a responsible human being. The president can say black jobs until he blue in the face. But if I know how to fix computers, if I know how to fix refrigerators, if I know how to go into a hospital and do what I need to do there, if I go to university and colleges, then his bearing on what a black job is irrelevant. That's words. That's words. I understand that. I understand under the climate in America, the media is going to play things up to a degree where it seems weird. But politicians shouldn't affect your life. Some politicians, for me, don't affect my life personally. Because at the end of the day, it's what I do what's going to affect my life personally. I'm not in a free market economy. That's not controlled by dictators. I am free to do what I wish in that economy if I have the skill set. So he could say black jobs until he's blowing a friggin'. I don't understand it. Maybe let me forgive me, all my American brothers, for my ignorance. Okay, because I see things from a so-called third world perspective, and maybe I don't know better. So I don't want to offend anyone where I don't know better. Maybe someone could tell me in a way that I can understand, but I don't care what these so-called people in suits say that what is a black job or a white job or whatever. It's not up to them to define how much money I make in my life and what I do with my life. It's not up to them. But maybe I don't understand it, and maybe there's someone else who could explain it in a way to make me understand it better. Maybe Kofi, please come up and make me understand it better, because I don't see what the crisis is. I personally don't. So I'll leave it there for the rest of the brothers to go.
Appreciate that, Buana. In the chat, Lero says, can we talk about how the neoliberal coons came out to make jokes about quote-unquote black jobs? Such a politically deactivated consciousness, seeks to make means instead of solutions to racism. She says disassociation from your reality and the colonial violence you are surrounded by. It wasn't just cringe, it was sickening, menticide. Daily affirmations by Pauline is out there saying good evening. Good evening to you. Lero says the whole immigration and border talk is theater. They want to pay low wages to cut costs. Mind you, in the South, they got illegals staying in old slave quarters. Travi 262 Plus says a true capitalist can't be effective without cheap labor or labor from other parts of the world. So with that said, Buana wanted to see if someone else could really break down the issue. Let's go to Real Black Gentleman. What say you?
Yeah, I think it's a nothing burger. I'm not gonna like get worked up over it or anything like that. I mean, when you try to be objective about it, yeah, I mean, most black people aren't making the most money in this country. So on that metric, you know what I'm saying? Like, since a black person is making the most money, I mean, we're clearly making a lower wage. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even, you know, I don't have any dog in this. I mean, if you cut out the adjectives, I mean, a job is a wage job, because most jobs are wage jobs. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want to get into it, because to me, it's not like I'm trying to like pick at his words. I think that, I mean, the approach that, I mean, because I heard what I heard, and it wasn't too apparent that what he said is what he is that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, they squeezed in the meme itself is deceptive, because there's no apparent. I mean, I don't think that was very apparent. I think they're trying to tease meaning out of what he's saying. That's what I think. I'm gonna pass the mic.
All right, I appreciate that. Lero agreed with Buana as well. She said it never mattered. Black folks felt offended, and you know our politics revolve around emotions. Well, let's go to Forecast. He's a bit of a historian around here. He is an historian, so I'd like to hear what he has to say. What are black jobs? What did you take from all of this? Forecast.
Well, first, you're the actual historian. You know way more than I do. But this with the black jobs, right? My thing is the people kind of making fun of it. My thing is with them a little bit, because you know they know damn well Joe Biden has said black jobs. They'd be like, oh, look, Joe Biden talking about black jobs. They know damn well they would be using it, but they acting like it's one or the other. So like, I'm not gonna care. Like, they should, like, when the blacks, you know what I'm saying, at the beginning of the sentence, I would be more offended by this, you know. And like, speaking of black jobs, you know, like, what is black job? Like I was saying, like, I was working in like warehousing and stuff like that. I had a brother who was like a little bit older, in his 40s, maybe, you know what I'm saying, got a family. He come to work every day on time. And like, while other people be BSing, you know what I'm saying, he work hard, show up. They would let this man work until the end of the day and fired him, you know what I'm saying? And now, like, the whole other department is straight Hispanics, you know what I'm saying? I'd be like Hispanic, you know, Mexican, whatever. They were like, oh no, he's not Hispanic. He's like come from Venezuela, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever. It's all the same to me. But like, I don't know if y'all ever like work with them, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, they are hella lazy, you know what I'm saying? But the point is, they like, a lot of those jobs that they had, you know what I'm saying, is like, my sister Cassandra talks about it in construction field, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if y'all played the video. I missed that one with the Hispanic dude. Like, the black people, they mad because they want to get paid, and then they be like, you want to get paid? He was like, yeah, well, I got kids. But like, a lot of those things, and Biden said on the screen and said America is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because you're gonna have to work with the Hispanic, you know what I'm saying? That's what Joe Biden said, you know. And the thing is, like, you can't trade one plantation for the other. Can't cape for one old white dude and for the other. Like, they all about the same thing. And I don't understand, like, well, I do understand, because usually it's like some kind of it's probably something personal, like, and okay, fine, if you're voting because, okay, this particular policy this person helps me with, that's on you, but that's not a part of black people, you know what I'm saying, and you shouldn't even push it. But as far as the historic part with the black jobs, you know, like, look, we are what we are right here. You know what I'm saying? It has happened where like we had industries and all of that stuff. The past has happened. We know that the most people right now have to get out and get jobs. Like we were just looking at the last one, people trying to show black people fighting. Now, if they had got jobs, would you have something to say about that? You know what I'm saying? I agree with what Bawana is saying is make your own lane, make your own opportunity. But what we are, you know what I'm saying, we are stuck in the system where you're paying bills, you're paying all of these things. And we know the historical context of why we don't have the wealth. So we have to go to their plantations, their jobs. I say slavery, but y'all will get offended. So their jobs, you know what I'm saying, where you volunteer your servitude to them, you know what I'm saying, to get paid. But like even now, they can undercut what you're getting paid because black people sat here and fought after they destroyed their communities, and then they fought to get a job. You know what I'm saying? We could talk about welfare and all that stuff, but it's easy to say now, but it's different back then when you got a crying baby and then nobody is hiring you and they already destroyed your wealth. Like they'll just build a highway right through your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you're not on some militant stuff, like what else are you going to do? You know, so then you hear, you know what I'm saying, where you got the you got to go to work every day, but now like you working and like we've sat here and fought to get like, well, we want benefits because they used to do that to like black people where they used to pay black people less than other groups, and they would when white people would go on strike, they would hire black workers because they were better workers but doing it for less. And then when black people like, yo, no, we tired of this, we gonna get paid what we deserve, and we tired of getting screwed over. Now they're going to get another class of people who would do this, but they would send their resources back to whatever country they're from or to their people, and they would live 30 to a place, you know what I'm saying, and all pay the same bills, but at the same time putting money towards a specific goal, you know what I'm saying? So they practice the whole group economics part of it, but that allows them to undercut you and fire you because you're making so much money. But it's not just with them, because like with Trump, it'll be the Ukrainians, you know what I'm saying? Like when Vladimir pull you over and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Whether after he got his training in Russia or Ukraine, you know what I'm saying? Like, or it'd be Ukraine for Biden or Russia for Trump. Like they're also getting jobs, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the whole thing. But like with the black people acting like they don't know what black jobs is, like we haven't said black employment all of these years. Now all of a sudden you don't know what a black job is. It's all a political thing, you know what I'm saying, pushing certain agendas or whatever. But you know what I'm saying, have some self-respect, some self-dignity. And if you're a black man, you know what I'm saying, stop being so damn weak, you know what I'm saying, and loving everybody but yourself, you know what I'm saying. But I'll pass the mic.
Well said, well said. In the chat, Lero agrees with forecast, and I agree with y'all. She says hella lazy. She said the Mexicans got this rep for being a hard worker when a lot of the illegals be fiends and crash outs like a motherfucker. I here in the States, these Mexicans are laying around under the bridge and all kind of shit, and stuff like that. I think forecast want to add something. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah, because to that point, you know who should get that rap? Old black men. I'd be like telling them, bro, like what are you paying? They paying you gold? Like black men, like, oh no, I just gotta work. I gotta do like what the hell is wrong with y'all? Sit like for this damn company, they don't give a damn about you, and then they get sick and all of this stuff, and like be having that like a brother got diabetes or whatever, and he be ready to pass out at work, you know what I'm saying? Because he don't want to. Well, meanwhile, the Mexican boy be walking in and out, not trying to do stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'll be like, what the hell? Like, old black men should have that rap, not them. But I'll pass the mic.
I appreciate that. It's true. Lero says even the ones that work hard, they just working quick. These Mexican contractors be doing piss poor jobs. They just put that motherfucker up real fast. Should be crumbling. Again, I agree. I've seen it personally. It's cheap labor. They'll get it done quick. But is it quality? Not what I've seen in the last 15 or so years. I haven't seen it. Shout out to Anthony McPhail, who's out there saying peace to us. Real Black Gentleman in the chat said Mexicans don't do detail like that. They one layer deep in their work. Another true thing. You got to direct them all goddamn day. Is there anyone else who would like to add a last thought here?
Yes.
not,
I want to add a last thought. The difference is, see, Brother Bakari does something that I believe is very important. Brother Bakari say buy black, support black business, and things of that nature. Right now, the Mexicans doing what they doing, and we say that the work is done poorly. But the black people paying for that work, so you're keeping them employed. You're still paying for that labor because you feel like they doing it at a cost that you enjoy. So you're still paying for that labor. But if you paying for a black plumber to do the same thing a Mexican man doing, you keep the black man employed. And if he employed enough, he is able to hire someone else. So I understand what the system is trying to do to the black man economically. But we are also responsible in terms of how we spend our dollar and where we place our dollar. You see, the industry in most black society, I went to Brixton in London, in Canada, and in the Caribbean and the United States of America. What we own and control, let me say, what industry we are part of in masses. Hair care product, hair care salons, food and things of that nature. That's the industry, and then church. And then church. That's the industries that we heavily seem to be invested in. Okay? Outside of that industry, we don't really have a big face. Like I can't go to a big plumber store to buy plumber's products from a black owned business. You know what I mean? I can't go there. I have to go to the Europeans to get these supplies and products and things of that nature. If I need to get like things for my refrigerator, air conditioning parts and supplies, whatever, I don't have a big industry like a black industry where I could go. But if there is one, if you support that business, they will in turn have the responsibility of hiring the men and women within that community. That's why the importance of buying black or using your spending power, the monies you getting from wherever you getting it from, and putting it back into whatever other businesses outside of food, church, and beauty supply. Beauty supply is important. That's how you build your industry and keep other people employed. So you don't have to worry about the whole black jobs coming. I already been working in the black business that I enjoy. That there's not necessarily the different restricted industries we already a part of. We need to be more diverse in the businesses that we actually engaging in first and foremost, and then spending our dollar there, spending our money there, because we can't say. Well, I just say we have to be consistent all the way around, because you can't complain when you don't spend the black dollars where the people them could create industries and build businesses within their communities and hire people within their communities. That becomes very important. You can't complain if you go into Walmart and all these other companies and all these other places to access all your services or all the products that you need, but then complain and say, well, we have to go work at these kinds of companies and we slaves to these kinds of situations when your dollar ain't being spent within your community to hire people who look just like you. If every other community is doing the same thing, you want to keep the Mexicans employed because their labor is cheap, because many black people guilty of that. But if you're spending money on black labor, if your house break down, if your car break down, if certain things happening within your whole sphere of human life, and you always spending your product on so-called cheap labor and not black labor, then you can't complain no more. You can't complain no more what the outcome of that situation is and scenario is. That's why I say Brother Bakari comments of buying black and billing black. People go over that. They don't want to listen to him. I say Brother Bakari's message more important than to read the sheets of the world. But we talk about hip hop when you're having economic starvation within your community. And we talking about friggin' hip hop. This is where we are. But Coco, I'm sorry for interrupting, brother. Go ahead, brother.
No, you could have kept going. I was good with it. In the chat, Larry says it depends on where you at. A lot of black men already have the skill set. We do hire each other a lot, but it's a decision of convenience rather than consciousness. She says, all my uncles and my dad can do everything the Mexicans do and better. Black men are known for being handymen. We don't put our skills and resources together, though. That's very true. Even back home, it was like that, too. Plumbers doing their thing, carpenters doing the other thing, instead of kind of combining that together. For example, Real Black Gentleman in the chat said it's not so much the worker, it's the implements and tools and devices and facilities that we need to keep up. It is difficult to do top quality work with second-rate equipment. And earlier, Anthony McPhail agreed with what the forecast said as well. All good stuff, gentlemen. If there's no last words on this prompt, we'll go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 for tonight. I want to thank everyone who's here tonight on the panel. Brother Bakari was here. Forecast is here. Real Black Gentleman is here. Buana is here. Black Steel was here as well. If you want to join the panel, just click the link pinned to the top of the chat on YouTube, and you can join the panel as well. Shoot the Breeze topic number 4 tonight says, look who they're using to attack Africa's stream. Was Sekou Ture right? And by Sekou Ture, here's a quote: if the enemy is not doing anything against you, you are not doing anything. So, we talked about Africa Stream just last week, actually, about how it's good. In fact, it was Oni who was talking about it, how it was good-looking propaganda and what we need to be aiming to put out there. And so here, this week, we have Africa Stream being watchdogged. So this is a tweet from Africa Stream itself on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow them as well. Africa Stream responds to NBC accusing us of misinformation. Africa Stream has been anticipating the day when self-appointed media watchdogs will come for us. Now, it says, it has this icon saying thread, but I don't see more to this. So I just see this one thing, and I see a symbol here. It looks like it's one of those swipe type deals, but I don't see a thread here. So NBC News reporter Marquise Francis wrote to African Stream asking us to comment on allegations we're spreading misinformation targeting Black audiences. He didn't cite any examples, but we gave him the courtesy of response regardless. Swipe through to see his 2 emails and our response. So that's where the problem starts. Let me see if I could quickly go to their site and see if I could find this same if I could find this post, and if this post has a thread on there. So bear with me. I'm going through Africa Stream. Sorry, I stopped sharing the screen. I didn't have to do that. Okay, so here's Africa Stream. And I'm trying to find this one particular post. So let me see something. If I could find it over here. So this post that I originally put up was from July. People still busting firecrackers, I see. It's from July of 2024, so we went back too far. Maybe they took it down, actually. Maybe that could be what's going on. Let me go back. Yeah, all these. This is really strange. All these tweets stop at April 14, 2023. So I don't know exactly where this came from, if it's something that they took down. But what we could speak to in the meantime is the notion of, hold on. What we can speak to in the meantime is the notion of misinformation. A large company like NBC News not citing any particular thing, but stating that this this Twitter account is dealing in misinformation targeted to Black audiences. What we can't speak to what that really kind of means. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I just got some saying something wasn't connected or something. Yeah, so I guess we could speak to the idea of NBC News accusing Africa Stream of basically propagandizing its its people, as if NBC isn't doing the same thing. Let me start with Real Black Gentleman. What are your thoughts on this? Let me see. In the meantime, while you're speaking, I'll look to see if I can figure out why I can't see the whole thread. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, how? Let me give me like 5 seconds. Hold up. I got you. I got. All right, Khalid Muhammad. When white folks can't defeat you, they'll always find some Negro, some boot-looking, buck dancing, bamboozled, half-baked, half-fried, sissified, punkified, pat. You know that I mean, I mean, it is what it is. NBC, yo. I mean, we gotta understand how they work. Like they know what's going on. Like they are the spies, yo. They's the espionage. You know what I'm saying? They just, it's just a form of intelligence gathering, yo. It's all it is. And so like when you have people who, I mean, I don't know, like I'm not big. I mean, I get like sharing knowledge and like what's going on in the greater, broader world type stuff. But like to try to mine and like story craft, that's what this is. And the whole idea of you is allegations. That's all it takes is an allegation. What is an allegation? It's a 4-letter big syllable word that people try to use when people talk about like casting spells on people. Allegate. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so like, it's like, it's just, and this dude, you know what I'm saying, just trying to be good and saying, oh, there's a problem. Some people are saying that there's a problem. Like, and like, you really like bring that out and like make that like bald face, like open like that. We talking about like black people. You know what I'm saying? Someone, white boy got done wound him up, put a battery in his back, and you know what I'm saying? Go out there, you know what I'm saying? See these Negroes causing some trouble, you know what I'm saying? Make some noise, you know what I'm saying? Get, you know what I'm saying? Tell them get back out in the field, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Get on back on the plantation, you know what I'm saying? So don't be thinking about, you know what I'm saying? It's all that it amounts to. I can't. Marquise Francis, you know what I'm saying? Francis. They probably picked his name because his name is Francis, and France, and that's supposed to be benign. I'm just like let up down my guard. What they'll do is they'll like play the like, well, black people like support it for it's some dumb stuff, but like I could just, that's just stuff off the top. I know it's nonsense. I know why it's nonsense, but they're just trying to invalidate, black people on black people's own terms. And this is not about, particular policy or anything like that. It's just black people's terms, black people expression and espousing their empirical, you know what I'm saying? It's subjective, you know what I'm saying? It's call it bias. It's they subject matter, what they talking about. And just sending in the good one to go down and kind of like tamp it down and say, some people are saying something's bad. Why would you do that? I'm gonna pass the mic.
I appreciate that, RBG. Thanks for being the first one to speak up there. So I was able to figure it out. I had to sign in, I guess. So again, this is the first part of a thread. NBC reporter Marquise Francis wrote to African Stream asking us to comment on allegations we're spreading misinformation targeting black audiences. He didn't cite any examples, but we gave him the courtesy of response regardless. Swipe through to see his 2 emails and our response. So this is the black man from NBC, Marquise Francis. This takes us to the second part of the thread that says, well, America's national broadcasting company, NBC News, recently had its knives out after we were named in a new report by Onyx Impact as one of a number of platforms allegedly targeting black communities with quote-unquote misinformation. So these are emails from Marquise Francis. Let me see if I can make it bigger. His first email from Marquise Francis to African Streams says, African Stream, good afternoon. My name is Marquise, and I'm a reporter with NBC News. I am working on a write-up on a forthcoming report that takes a deep dive into online networks that it claims targets black audience with misinformation and includes your company. I am reaching for comment about whether you feel as though this is an accurate or inaccurate statement of the work that you all do, and how you would like to respond to critics that say you share misinformation that hurts black communities. Additionally, I would love to include how you would characterize the work that you do. I have a Wednesday 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline, and thank you in advance for your time. Best, Marquise. Second email. Let me see if there's a better one. So there was a second email. It says, one update. My deadline is Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, not Wednesday. Thanks in advance. So African Stream continues the thread. It says, the fact that NBC couldn't cite a single example of this in our case didn't seem to bother the broadcaster much. So African Stream's response says, hi, Marquise Francis. Thank you for your email and for allowing us to respond. However, you should accurately indicate what we are accused of for us to respond adequately. It would be more in line with customary practice to lay out the allegations in detail with examples of what you mean by misinformation and allow us to respond to the examples you cite. You have not done that. Instead, you send us 2 emails. In the second email, you move the deadline for us to respond from Wednesday to Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which gives us less than 24 hours. Again, this is not customary practice, but we will deal with it as professionals. But firstly, to avoid any misinformation on your behalf, you misspelled our media name. We are not Africa Stream, but African Stream. Now, the misspelling of our name suggests to us one of 2 things. A, you have not done your due diligence about our company, which would explain why you could not cite any examples of our supposed misinformation in your email. Or B, this assignment was handed to you hastily, most likely by a white supervisor who wanted you to do the hit piece because it looks better optically. If we are attacked by someone who looks like us, or as Malcolm X once brilliantly stated, they will pay one of us to kill one of us just to say it was one of us. Okay, African Stream, do you think? African Stream goes on to say, we feel honored to defend our telling of African stories from an anti-imperialist and pan-African perspective. So this is a continuation of the response. It says, let's answer your questions as directly as we can. You describe us as an online network that quote-unquote targets black audiences with misinformation. You are half right, although you mean black audiences, plural, not audience, singular. We target black audiences, although we prefer the term African to black. We do this because we are a pan-African digital media platform covering affairs concerning Africans at home and in the diaspora. Consequently, we cover events in countries ranging from Sudan, Nigeria, Kenya, Brazil, Jamaica, to the United States. Our team is based in Nairobi, Kenya, and we are run and staffed by Africans, including veteran journalists with expertise in regional and local politics. We present an authentically African perspective, unlike media outlets like NBC News, which represents the view of the American establishment that seeks to economically control and plunder Africa. To continue, African Stream says, here you can read our response to NBC's Marquise Francis when he sounded us out for comment. So this is the continuation. Now on to your more serious and defamatory allegation that we spread misinformation. Not sure how you do journalism at NBC, but at African Stream, we ensure that our journalists follow the basic principles of point, evidence, explain, PEEP. Simply put, if you are to make a point like you have here, claiming we are spreading misinformation, then you need examples to back up your point, something you have failed to provide. And then finally, to explain how your examples back up your point. You need to drastically improve on 2 of the 3 fronts. However, we will still attempt to answer your allegation as simple as we can. No, we do not spread misinformation. We have a vigorous fact-checking process, which means work is checked by 3 different trained journalists 3 times before posting on our platforms. Of course, like all news media, we occasionally make mistakes, but we issue a retraction when that happens. However, this has happened only a few times because our thorough verification process. Again, if you have found any information that we have posted that is not factual, please let us know. And if we agree with your findings, we will issue a retraction of the post and take it down. They go on to say, now we are transparent about our political perspective. Are you open with your audience at NBC about your political leanings and who and what you represent? We must admit we don't follow your site closely, but what does filter through to us comes across as propaganda for Joe Biden's Democratic Party in the U.S. and the U.S. military-industrial complex, which is the opposite of what the media is supposed to do, speak truth to power. We are based in Kenya and have been covering all of the protests against William Ruto's government following the imposition of the IMF-backed 2024 finance bill. We are putting ourselves at risk to speak truth to power in the country in which we are based. Have you done the same? Goes on. He says, we noticed that Julian Assange has just been set free after 5 years in Belmarsh's maximum security prison in the UK, battling extradition to the United States for exposing U.S. war crimes in Afghanistan and Iraq. We noticed NBC's sit-down interview with President Biden on the 26th of November 2020. You didn't ask him a single question about Julian Assange. How come? Since you are concerned with misinformation and protecting journalism, why not ask about the most famous journalist locked up at the request of the United States to the one politician who could have released him with one executive order? Since you are concerned with misinformation, you would know that WikiLeaks has an impeccable record, better than African Streams, as they, unlike us, have never had to retract the story. Yet you don't bring up the case of the WikiLeaks founder to the most powerful politician in the world. What was the purpose of your interview? Was it to ask the newly elected president, Joe Biden, tough questions, or to bask in the glory of his recent election victory? They go on to say, you see, we cover U.S. politics too, but following the radical Pan-African tradition of criticizing both the Republicans and Democrats, to paraphrase Malcolm X again, both parties are enemies of African people worldwide, including Africans in America. If you check our page, you will see that Trump is as criticized as Biden. A look at your page reveals that, sadly, criticism of Biden is woefully missing. Is supporting, funding, and arming a genocide against Palestinian children not worth criticizing? Or the fact Joe Biden has received over $5.2 million in support over the last 34 years from Israeli lobby group AIPAC, more than any congressional recipient, according to Open Secrets? Have you ever raised the question of whether this is why he's continuing to arm Israel despite pending cases by the ICJ and ICC against Israel for genocide and war crimes? Please respond to these questions by Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern African time. We hope we have satisfactorily answered your questions. Well, boy, African Streams did their thing here. NBC's reply, right? NBC's reply is, Ahmed, thank you for such a thorough and prompt response. Also, my apologies for inaccurately spelling your company name. I appreciate the follow-up, Marquise. So that's a very interesting thread. I'm glad I was able to figure that out and read that to you guys. But African Stream did their thing with that one. I heard from RBG. RBG, since I've read the entire thing, do you have any follow-up comments now?
Yeah, scroll down again real quick. See dude's icon real quick because of the dude's response. What down more? It was at the end because you had a little thing where it was like real brief. You know what I'm saying? All curt and whatnot. Yeah, look at that little pink. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's the type of micro, aggression type stuff. There's a whole man, like really, like that's how you portray, like for real, like that makes you know what I'm saying? I don't like it. Just hey, you got eyes, you got ears, you gotta recognize patterns and themes and stuff. That's all I got to say, man.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Forecast, what say you to this?
I'm sorry. My brother had a long, thought out thing, and they hit him with the, oh yeah, okay, I got you. My brother hit him with a 2-word response, like okay, but I would say, as far as misinformation goes, of course, that's just the way that they do things. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you do something is a bloody something, and when they do something is a hero. You know what I'm saying? Like they would put a pedal on the side of a mountain, but put you in prison for speeding or something. You know what I'm saying? But I would say, I guess we are like, and my brother only has been talking about propaganda, and I've always said, everything that I say is like propaganda is true, but it's like propaganda, and it is important to have that. But we don't understand as Black people. We rather, you know what I'm saying, put on the blackface stuff. But I will say, I think that what we are saying, or you know what I'm saying, is true, because all of a sudden when I came on here, Koku, now everybody busy. Bakari talking about, oh, the place I'm going to is loud. You know what I'm saying? You heard him, Bawana, talk about the place is loud. So I guess we don't have misinformation because nobody come on to correct it. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that.
I appreciate that forecast. In the chat, Lara says, I'll be honest though, I've seen Africans attack Africa Stream, or I guess African streams, because they support a lot of leftist politics, especially those pertaining to economics. They don't like the pro-Russia China stances. She says, I've always supported African streams. They are involved with many grassroots organizations and putting out important information. I want to point out something too. The reason why most of us who are on Twitter, especially would know of Africa Stream or even on YouTube, you could tell they have a team, right? They have a team of journalists. Like, these things don't just happen. They don't just work if you leave it up to one person to do. You have to join in and help. And I'm sure a lot of people who help with this stuff aren't necessarily journalists. They're just people who like the content, and besides the journalists who he mentioned, they just like this kind of content, and they like the efforts, and they add to it. So I just want to point that out. Real Black Gentleman in the chat says NBC stays shorting Black people's intelligence, or shorting Black people's intelligence. Lara says the West is now getting aware to their growing popularity and attacking them to control the propaganda war. Absolutely, that's what I thought. Andy McPhail said Africa Stream puts out a lot of great content from the African perspective. So a lot of you are familiar with them. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, I'm not a fan of leftists, but they post content on Gaviites too. So I think African Stream is dope overall. Trigger Happy felt like they were annihilating them with the rebuttal, which I think they did as well. Buana, you've heard everything everyone had to say and seen everything everyone said in the chat. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is this. For all the brothers under the sound of my voice, I would say that go on to Amazon, and I want y'all to buy a book. Look up the best books on war strategy. The best books on war strategy. and I want you all to just purchase one book on war strategy and just read it. Find out what the best books on war strategy is and just read it. For forecast, you might, historian, I want you to start discussing subjects in terms of war strategies because you're a big guy in terms of Virginia and things like that. Many things went on in Virginia, and I can tell you why I'm saying this in a minute. But I think that I want you to teach in terms of war strategies and how these guys went about executing their war strategies within Virginia. I'd really like to hear some history on that. The reason why I say that is, within this email itself, there are some things that I wouldn't have give away. There are some things in terms of what African Stream would have done, I wouldn't have give away. One of the things is telling him where my servers are. Because when you're talking to NBC, you are not talking to NBC. You are talking to the United States government. You are talking to an arm of the United States government, which is the information arm of the United States government. So when you say that where you are placed in terms of being in Kenya, well, they know where to go now to knock out their servers to make sure that information doesn't go to the people who may want that information. I don't think he should have done that. I think that's a bad tactic. And if he understood war strategy, he would have never mentioned that in his email. That's number one. Number two, I didn't know the fact that now I know who is behind African Stream. I didn't think so many Pan-Africans was in Kenya, but I could be wrong about that. But I just wouldn't voluntarily give him too much information in terms of where I am and what I'm doing. Now, in terms of, I have some homework for the brothers too. In terms of this Marcus Francis, find his email. Find what his email is at CNBC, and you all write him too. Because African Stream can't take up the fight by themselves. So we must throw rocks at Marquis Francis too and tell him stop being a stooge. Challenge him. All these people, all the brothers on this panel have excellent opinions from time to time. Well, find his email and go challenge him. Throw a rock in his direction saying stop being a stooge, brother. Find another job. Because when you see his face, you don't see the face that's behind him. And we all know who the face is behind him, who making him volunteer this, giving us information. And notice the information that African Stream give and the information NBC News give. Because what he wrote back to him, he didn't get into the details of who he was and where he was coming from or the university and what. He didn't give him none of that at all. He just said, thank you for the information. Now I know. So African Stream volunteered more information on his end as opposed to this man. That's first and foremost, I'll leave that alone. What I want to talk about is the difference between misinformation and disinformation. Because the difference between misinformation and disinformation is intention. Misinformation is saying that I am sending out information or false or bad information unknowingly. Basically saying that I was incompetent and I didn't know what I was doing. But I given this information out to people and I targeted people with information that's incorrect, but I didn't have intentions of doing that. This information is intentionally giving out information that I know that can corrupt the minds of people. But I clever enough to know it's bad information, but I do it anyways for specific purposes and reasons. So I cleverly am evil in what I'm doing, but I at least know my job. You know what I mean? They calling me incompetent by saying that I spread rumors and gossip and misinformation. Like I don't know better. But disinformation is intention. There's an information war going on in the world right now, where you see these established media like NBC News, ABC, and all these other medias. Then you see other news streaming services and platforms via YouTube, like African Stream with the Africans in Kenya. Since we know them now, they volunteer information. Then you have YON from the Indians. We play their clips from time to time with alternative information in terms of what's going on in the world. You had Russia Today, which was from out of Russia with Abiy Martin and what they was doing back in the day. They cut that shit off because they don't want the general public exposed to certain information in the world. not voluntarily, and platforms like this, which get shadow banned because you don't want certain kinds of information or the Western media or Western audiences exposed to certain kinds of information in terms of what's going on in the world. They want that to restrict that heavily. So these guys are in an information war, whether they know it or not. And you have to be intelligent and smart in how you go about voluntarily giving information that you should not. Because as I say, when you're speaking to these people, you're speaking to the United States government. So I would just tell the brothers in Kenya, yes, you are unapologetically Pan-African organization, but you have to be strategic in terms of warfare and how you practice your information war and spread information to your people throughout the planet. You have to be intentional and you have to be smart and understand that you are in an information war and practice information and practice war strategics. War is not only fought on a battlefield, physically fighting. Sometimes it's an intellectual war, it's a war of words, it's a health war, it's all kinds of different kinds of wars. You know what I mean? So you have to be intelligent in how you go about doing kinds of things. We got to be smart now in these days and times. We see this face, this black Marquise fella with his face, but we all know the person who is behind him is an old white man or an old bunch of white men, very afraid that they can't corrupt the minds of African people because these people are presenting themselves as a buffer class of people who are presenting alternative information, so much so that they are writing these people. So I would say to be intelligent about how you move to the world now. You can't be simple-minded and stupid.
I appreciate that, Bwana. Yeah, and I
Can't be
actually agree.
simple-minded and stupid. But email this guy, email him, man, and tell him stop being. Sorry, cool.
No. It had your sound had cut out. I thought you had stopped, and so that's why I cut in. I apologize. I think you might be on a little bit of a delay too. It's all good though. But I agree with what you said too. They gave up a little bit. It reminded me of Maurice Bishop. Bishop in trying to defend himself.
Go ahead, Coco. It's just my
Bishop in trying to defend himself. Well, trying to defend himself and his country against the allegations that they were building some airport for Russia on the country. He kind of gave away too much information, right? With that said, Erzuliism in the chat said that was a fake jab by NBC to get their location, but good for them. So Erzuli agrees with you. Kofi, the black critic, said that most blacks on white media is vetted. He goes on to say, when a person of color go off script when they get fired, like Don Lemon and Madai Hassan. Trigger 262 Plus says there got to be more of a link with digital and informational platforms like an African Stream with Bibi Toomey to really take into gear the information war. Yeah, I think that's a well stated idea, Trigger. I think about that a lot. It's about the resources. If they could join those two things, a social media site for African people with a digital media site like African Streams, where when you go on that social media, everything is geared to put in front of the eyes of the users some propaganda, some positive propaganda when it comes to Africa, when it comes to being African. That'll be great. I've thought about it before too, but I kind of, it takes a lot of resources to do this stuff, but it would have been great to create a social media platform that incorporated or different podcasts and different types of media and stuff like that. But we'll see if someone is inspired to do that one day. RBG in the chat says they seek to extract and refine and isolate the Negroid aspect against Africans. Trigger says, to be fair though, wouldn't their location already be public? I think America would have known their location by now. I always think about that too. What I do say, first, I always think about, well, they probably know who you are and where you are anyway, IP addresses and all this type of stuff. Or perhaps you're using a VPN, but even that can trace back to your location. But I like to think of it as, if they happen to not have the information, let me not give it to them readily. So I think to err on the side of caution is still smart to do. Does anyone have any last thoughts for this prompt here? If not, we can go to what's probably going to be the last prompt of the night. So have a lengthy conversation on it. We're going to end at 11 p.m. Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 simply says, dating in your 40s. Dating in your 40s. This comes with a link. I like everyone in the chat to post all their thoughts. I like to read all of them on air. I like to hear a full discussion from the panelists. I'm going to play, I think it's 10 minutes of this video, and then we'll have hopefully a robust conversation.
Hey, I can't hear it.
I can't hear anything either.
No sound? Let me see what the hell could possibly be going on. Okay, y'all bear with me. I'll try to get the sound going. I don't know why it wouldn't have sound. Let me see. The audio. Okay. Let me stop sharing for a second. Let's stop sharing and I'll bring it back to the start. And, it did say something earlier about audio connection was whatever lost or something in one of the earlier prompts. I guess I haven't used the sound since then. To that last prompt, Azulism said by location, we also mean their thought process too. That's a good point. Good point there as well, Azuli. Just a reminder, Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 says dating in your 40s. Hopefully this will work this time. You guys drop me a quick 1 when I start the video. Let me know if you can hear it out there in the chat.
I need somebody to respond to this and tell me what I need to do, because your girl didn't tell.
What's up, y'all? So earlier today, I was sent this video by my brother Bobby. It's entitled Dating in Your 40s by Crystal Renee Hayslett. I hope I'm not butchering your name, but yeah, I watched a little bit of it and I had thoughts. So I wanted to revise it in a similar way that I revised the Meet the Perrys video. It's an interesting conversation that she brings up, but I also would like to add additional male context to some of the things that she said. So if you're a young woman watching this, if you're a seasoned woman watching this, if you're a young man watching this, hopefully I can add some color to this conversation. So I'm going to stop it periodically and give my thoughts.
Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of Keep It Positive, Sweetie. I'm Crystal Renee, and today we are talking about dating in your 40s. And when I think about dating in your 40s, the first song that came to mind was Destiny's Child, Independent Women. All my women independent, throw your hands up at me. And when I think of that, is because I feel like once women get to their 40s, and they're still dating, they're definitely independent. I know for me, I just turned 40 in October, and it was something that clicked. It was something that clicked. It's like, I'm literally the day I woke up after my party, I was like, whoa, I had so much clarity on things, and I was very sure about what I wanted to do, how I wanted it, and all those things. But leading up to that, I work in a very vain industry, in an industry that's always looking for the youngest and the hottest and the next. And I was worried, like, Lord, am I getting older? Like, and we also have an industry where we don't tell people our age. So like, even on my invitation, I was very strategic about not putting that I was turning 40, because I just didn't want to put that out there. But everybody found out anyway, so now everybody knows. But when you're dating in your 40s, there's so many factors that come into place. Your biological clock is ticking. Society has put so much stress on, you need to get married by this age, you need to start having children by this age. And
there's been a lot of conversation about women who are a bit seasoned, women over the hill or who've hit the wall, as it were. And, some people believe that there must be something wrong with them. Other people believe that they are in their prime. And I think it really just speaks to the shifting societal landscape generally, right? Back in the day, it was customary to get married, start a family in your 20s, but you were also pretty much guaranteed a job. Real estate was a bit more affordable. You could look forward to a pension. The world, as wide as it is, wasn't necessarily as accessible. So you were content in your city and your town. However, as we're moving into the 22nd century, that's no longer the case, right? People are prioritizing education, men and women. People are prioritizing status, wealth, accumulating material possessions. And when your priorities are those things, it's very easy to put off those traditional milestones, right? Like, it's very easy to look up and now you're 40 or 30 something or even 50, and those traditional things are not there. And unfortunately, because we have so many options, because we have so much access, it's actually made things more difficult when it comes to finding partners or even finding friends. It's hard as hell as an adult to make friends. So I guess I would say to women dating in their 40s, it is kind of fair for men to be concerned about why you are still available in your 40s. It's not to say that there is absolutely something wrong with you, but it is to say that from a male point of view, it's a fair assumption. And this dismissiveness that we often kind of meet that with, I think is really counterproductive, because the reality is, as great and fantastic as you might think you are, if your son, your 20-something-year-old handsome, successful son came to you and he, instead of introducing to you a young, supple young lady who's intelligent and all those good things that he could potentially have children with, he introduced to you a woman that was your age or a woman that was significantly older than you, you would have an issue with it if you were being completely honest.
Sorry, Papa, I forgot to tell you. This is about my wife to be. Huh? Zabako. My father.
Nice to meet you, sir. Your father is such a nice man.
Like I told you, my father is a good man. He's a nigga. He's going inside to tell the house for us.
I love you.
Thank you very much. He's going to...
So when you think about it from that vantage point, it's a bit easier to empathize with why men are a bit apprehensive. And obviously, there is a conversation about the biological clock. A man who wants to have kids, knowing that you can't give that to him, it kind of eliminates you from the running. But the other thing too, even for men who might not be interested in children, is the baggage, right? Like, reasonable men understand that all people come with baggage, all women come with baggage. However, we also understandably realize that it's different coming with 5 years of baggage versus 10 years of baggage versus 20 years of baggage. And if you are a woman in your 40s, you have seen a single woman in your 40s, you have seen a significant bit of life, a significant bit of experience. And that is now life and experience that your male partner now has to navigate. You know, your triggers, you know, your sensitivities, maybe even, you know, an ex-lover that you had that was the best thing since sliced bread. But in 20 years, you might have been able to accumulate more than one of those guys. And now he has to measure up and constantly compete with that.
Speaking of which, where's the baby daddy? Oh, good question, Z. Thank you. Could be a psycho. Just got parole for killing her last boyfriend. Or he could be one of those guys that like to hide in the bush, wait for a strange guy to come to his baby mom's house. And when he gets there, he pops out the bushes, hits this guy in the back of the head with a brick, without even realizing that this guy's relationship with his baby mom was platonic. They ever catch that guy? No, it's a cold case. The cops won't even revisit the case. They said they couldn't find a brick.
It's fair for men to kind of be apprehensive and not necessarily be so gung-ho about a seasoned woman. And this, you know, assumption that it's because we're intimidated, I think it's a trivialization. I think it really cheapens this conversation. Men aren't intimidated. We're just, we're a bit more reasonable than we give ourselves credit for being.
I found myself attracting like 20-year-olds. And I was like, what is this? 'Cause I know I don't look 40. That was the first thing. I don't look like how old I am, but I was attracting young people. And with that, it became a stress because I knew they wanted children. I'm like, okay, these are conversations we have to have. And I always wanted to date somebody that's either my age or a little older. And honestly, they'd already had children because I didn't want that pressure. I don't want the pressure of, okay, if he wants children, I can't give him that. Like, what if I pass that stage in my life? And another thing that's really hard about dating in your 40s is, for me, is finding a man that's not intimidated. I've dated, and then men see how I'm living, and it's like, oh, I can't keep up with that. And I'm like, I don't need you to keep up. The things I need from you, of course, I want someone who has something going on for themselves. Of course, I want somebody who can do the things for me that I can do for them, but it doesn't have to always be on the level that I do it, because that's not what I need you for. I need love. I need affection. I need the love languages. And there's 5, and I need all of them. I need someone that is emotionally supportive to me, someone that supports my career. And I've found that a lot of men are not in a space of maturity or even have the bandwidth to give me that. They're so used to just buying women and, oh, I'll go do this, I'll pay for this, and everything's gonna be okay. No, like I need you to be my homie, my lover, and my friend.
What's difficult sometimes about these conversations is, you know, when you sit and listen to certain women describe their ideal guy, a lot of times they're describing a girlfriend, not a man, right? They're describing traits that would traditionally be found in women, right? And they revert back to this whole, you know, I'm coming across men who are intimidated by me. But then it begs the question that why aren't you able to attract the men who wouldn't be, right? And I've talked about how some women are actually more secure and comfortable in relationships where the power dynamic is more in their favor. And they might not actually admit it, but some women actually find themselves more comfortable around men who make less, men who are less intelligent, men who are less accomplished, because he's easier to control, right? He's easier to manipulate. He needs you, you don't need him. And I think that's actually worth a conversation, as opposed to this blanket, men are intimidated by me. And then the other thing,
what he said at the end there is absolutely true, in my humble opinion. But something that Real Black Gentleman said out in the chat, and by the way, shout out to Jose, who's out there. He said intimidated, LOL, dismissed. But something that RBG said in the chat, which was going to be my little input on this prompt, is women should be married at 25 and hoe at 50, not hoe at 25 and unmarried at 50. And that is an important, I've talked about this before, but that's important in the Black society. There's many different ways that we fail, but one of the ways we fail is on this family front, which is this relationship stuff. Ladies, if you can hear my voice, man, and you're a young woman, this is not about controlling your bodies and all that stuff that folks will try to throw out there. But really and truly, you're supposed to be trying to get out the game between 25 and 28. If you're serious about wanting to have a family and being married and protected and loved and, all of that good and provided for and all that kind of stuff, you got to get out the game. How can I put this without being too explicit? You got to get out the game while you're still a choice thing, while your body is still exclusive. Once you pass a certain age, you're going to rack up the body counts, and I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're trying to control women's bodies." No, I'm just telling you what it is when you deal with a certain caliber of black man. You come around black men too far gone, black men ain't gonna really. I'm talking about black men with some caliber to them, right? What he said at the end there is the other important part. You'll spend a lot of time with what I call these dusty dudes. Because why? A dusty dude, he got time. He gonna lay up and watch General Hospital with you. He gonna gossip with you about that bitch Karen at work. He go lay up and he go whatever you cook, he good with. Whatever you want to talk about, he good with, because he with you to kind of keep a roof over his head, his belly, his stomach full, etc. Y'all gotta stop wasting time with these dusty dudes, and then when you get 40 plus years old, talking about I'm dating with purpose now, I'm dating with intentions. If you don't sit your ass down somewhere, you should have always been dating with
Cuckoo. Hold up for a second, Cuckoo. Hold up a second. Liro, because you were the female who listened. Liro or the other sister who, my Bahamian sister, could you all please come on, please, for this prompt and PC us, please, because I don't want people to think that this channel is an anti-female channel, and we sometimes can be politically very incorrect. And I can see this going left in a second. So could you all please come on and PC us, please? I'm begging. I see where that's going. I know where that's going. But could Liro or my sister from the Bahamas, could y'all please come PC us, please? But I'm begging. Sorry, Koku, for interrupting. Gamble.
No, I have no intentions of rubbing any woman wrong. I'm just telling you. And side note, this is what uncles are for. This is what fathers are for. This is what grandfathers are for. This is what big bros are for. You got to tell these young women around you that the name of the game is for you to package yourself, your personality, your beauty, your body, your soul, all that. It's for you to package that to get with the best man you can get with. That's not to say you can't go and get degrees and become this and that and the other. You could do all of that still. At the end of the day, the way this world really works and the way we need things for the improvement of Black society, we need positive, we need strong, we need sensible families. And we don't get that through sensible dating practices, not just when you hit 40 plus, but really when you are at the best time in your life to start families. Like, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to control no one's bodies, but I'm saying that should be what we are trying to create of ourselves going forward in the future. This thing where you're getting, you know what, now maybe I should stop. But this thing where you're being selfish almost by just trying to like kind of live up to what the men are doing or allegedly doing or supposedly do. And Azuli, I ain't simping at all. I hope you ain't talking about me, right? But this thing where you're trying to live up to that whatlessness of men, that's what we have going on out here a lot. There's a lot of whatlessness of men that a lot of women are, not all, but a lot of women are perpetrating, right? Like, cut that out. You could be strong, or, you know, whatever that looks like and means to you, but you could also be a lady. You could be a woman. You could be a wife. Get out the game early. Again, what RBG said in the chat is so on point. Get out the game. Don't be out here unwed at 50 and still out here knocking about from bed to bed. Come on, man. What do you think is going to happen? RBG, I'll let you continue. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, it is what it is, yo. I mean, this is what happens when we're not grounded in any kind of like fertility science, any kind of fertility, like, you know, this is just natural things, right? I mean, we've known about people know about the fertility of other people. We've known about this for time immemorial. Women, we just realized that you can sit there and do simple math and see, okay, the women start having kids at this age and they stop having kids around this age, and then somewhere in the middle, a lot of the women have a lot of kids around this time. You know what I'm saying? We get that. Like, now I'm a man. I mean, I do see things about like female fertility where, you know what I'm saying, the science and the chemistry of the cycles and all that, and the things to kind of stall the degradation or the biological systems and all that. I get that. I see that. You know what I'm saying? You know, I wish. I mean, I know that, and we're talking about like just practicality. I'm not pushing anything premature, but there's an optimal look for real, for men and women. I think 25 is optimal for men and women. I mean, for men, it's just the raw development. For both, for people, 25, you are at your mentally, emotionally peak. At least, I mean, you're physically more mature at, like, 18, but that's not the point. We're not talking about physical maturity. We're talking about like whole body. Like, you want to be a whole person, you could graduate college at 22 and like have a little bit of life, and you're at your peak at 25. You see what I'm saying? Men and women. It's just I know when I was 25, I couldn't no one tell me. When you're 25, you know it. And you just that is a blur. It's just a tear. And whatever you was doing, just you know what I'm saying? Like, it's your peak, and that is like when you cannot tell. You can't, and when you're 40, you gotta guarantee a family, and it can't be about the baby. It can't be a baby trap either. It can't use the laws and technology of these white people hundreds of years ago to put in place to turn it into some kind of just like financial bondage and severance package. It can't be that. You're 40. I mean, if it's not impossible, fertility, I mean, it's not impossible. It's just that things degrade over time. So it's not optimal, not impossible. Not to say that you can't have a normal, healthy outcome, child, little baby. Not impossible. It's just, there can be complications. And so You know, and part of it has to be just, you know, ego and humility and recognizing one's place relative to everything. I mean, there has to be an ameliability about a lot of this. I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like, you know, men want, but I mean, some things are some things shouldn't have to be said. Some things where you know, it's not about the noise and trying to interpret the noise and follow the noise and kind of follow the hidden pack, so to speak. You just got to know, like, in this situation, all things considering, what is the most ameliable? How do you get the best complementarity in any given situation over a series of time? And I mean, I don't think a woman who is not looking for a man's lead, a man's direction, even a man's instruction. I mean, there's always time for adult education. Everyone can learn something. You should, hey, never stop learning. You know what I'm saying? Never stop learning. You know what I'm saying? Never stop learning. But like, it's just, she can't be. It is what it is. The question about, like, if you what dude was saying, because I saw this video for real. Like, if you 40 years old and you're not already sewn up, like, yo, like, how many years, months, seasons of not being able to find the groove in what's the word I want to say? Just bond and coalesce emotionally with another person. You got to be able to do that in order to even have a family. Because I mean, for real, for a family is a 20-year sentence. If you want to be about it, I mean, because you don't want to just do the bare minimum 18. You got to, that's your child. You want to make sure you're going to be a terror about anything when they're 19, because they still young. Like I said, you optimal when you're 25. Any teenager should be considered vulnerable, right? So it's just one of those things that you got to make sure that you got to get them off the ground and make sure that they achieve cruising altitude and speed. Don't just get them up. Make sure that they're going fast enough too. That's why it's called rearing the children, not just raising them. Don't just lift them up in the air like Simba. Be at their back. Tell them the direction. I got your back. Just cause, son. Just cause. Already kind of energy. I'm gonna pass the mic.
I appreciate it, RBG. Provide triggers for evolutions out there, and she says this, and I want to address it real quick. She says, again, gentlemen, let's not generalize. We need to address her scenario based on her specific circumstances. Let's not make any assumptions here. You know, there's only so much I can say about this lady from a 10 to 12-minute video. I don't know her personally. I don't know her background, her makeup, her energies, etc. I can only go by the little bit that we're getting in this kind of interrupted video because there's commentary, right? But what I was speaking about mainly is about nation. I think about nation stuff more than anything. I don't really worry about the specifics of certain scenarios. You know, no offense to her and definitely none to you, Provide Triggers. But in general, though, as a nation, we need to be concerned about these types of stories. We need to be concerned about how many of similar stories there are to this type of story as well. And my suggestions were my observations of our people when we do it the way I described it, and other people when they do it the way I described it. And I see there's more success. And I think we need to be working for successful nations, not just to have nations, but to have successful nations at that. So I just wanted to address that real quick. With that said, let's thank the forecast for being here tonight. He had to jump off to attend to some affairs. So I appreciate you, brother, for coming through. I will be tuned into you during the week. Hopefully I'll have a chance to get on your panel as well. With that said, let's hear from our boy Buana. Buana, what's it?
Yeah, so I hope that Urzuli comes on because he said he's taking some swipes at me. I really enjoy Urzuli.
Yeah. By the way, provide triggers, Urzuli, Matron, if you're out there, whoever wants to come up. This is the last prompt for the night. We'll end about 11 p.m.
Yes.
So come on up. Buana, go ahead.
Yes, I enjoy them from time to time in their comments. But notice in the background, I know that people who was watching this, was seeing Vivica Fox, her image appear throughout this lady's discourse. And the reason for that is Vivica Fox right now is approaching 60 years old. And she is coming to the conclusion in her life right now where she wants a man in her life, a consistent man. I think that Vivica Fox was married before she decided to date 50 Cent and other rappers and scumbags and things of that nature. Well, 50 Cent, well, I don't know if he's a scumbag or not. Let me just take that out. But as a part of when 50 Cent and her broke up, 50 Cent started saying some bad things in terms of what they was doing intimately in their relationship. And I always remembered that. Always remember that statement. And I'm saying to myself, maybe she should have stayed with her husband. Maybe. And not look for the so-called proverbial bag. Because now she is 60 years old, about approaching 60, she's 59, and says she is lonely and she wants a man in her life. So all that independent woman stuff goes out of the window now, and she's left to deal with herself with all the money in the world. I don't see the reason why I wanted the women to come on is because I am not PC either, and I don't want to say things that unintentionally will offend my sisters or alienate them just by giving my opinions on things. Because this sister in this YouTube video says, I don't want a man to be intimidated by me. I'm like, would you have to be intimidated? You have a job and somebody in the bike, and that's what is gonna intimidate me? Sister, first and foremost, I'm a man. I'm governed by a different rule of law. You're dealing with a different kind of character. You think that because you have a good paying job, that's shit. If I was dating Oprah with all the billions of dollars in the bank, my man had come before her money. So I'm gonna act as if I'm a man. I'm not gonna act as a Stedman. You know what I mean? You won't be governed by my rules first and foremost. Now, to some women, that's offensive because they believe in this so-called modern world. They believe in equality and all that good stuff. But I've been raised by that school of law. I'm man first and foremost. So I'm governed to be the leader and the head of my household. Period. Full stop. To the sophisticated Western-minded female individual, she may find it offensive. They can say the word patriarchy. I ain't governed by that bullshit. To me, that's bullshit. You think when I hear her say that, he's gonna be intimidated by all the things I have. You know what I hear? I hear blah 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 blah. Because to me, that means absolutely nothing. I respect the fact that you accrued and acquired all these things in your working life. Wonderful. I give you a round of applause. But what that got to do with me as a man has absolutely nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. If you want a man in your life, then you have to understand that male rules apply. Male rules apply. If you really don't want that, say you really don't want a man, I just want someone to side up next to me when I sleep in and make me feel comforted and have sex with me from time to time. But I really don't want a man because a man comes with certain conditions and criteria. And if women don't really want that or want to live up under that kind of idea or philosophy of life, then say I really opt out of that. I really just want to satisfy my biological needs and my emotional needs from time to time. But I really don't want a man in my life. We have to be honest with ourselves. And the men too. Because there are men who in their 40s and are not married. And they don't want certain things in their life. So they say, well, I just want, a piece of ass from time to time, maybe some good cooked food from time to time. But I really don't want a consistent woman in my life because that have a condition to it as well. Because you have to fulfill certain needs of a grown ass woman from time to time too, if you want to be in a serious relationship with her. So these things go across the board, and I don't think that we should beat up one another about it. I think that we should be honest and really go for what we really want and be honest about ourselves. I really don't want the obligation of being married. I just want to be in a situation from time to time where I can have some good sex and have some good food, or have the comfort of companionship. But I really don't want that on a consistent basis, because that takes too much work. The reality is most men don't get black men don't get married. That's a fact. Most black men won't get married. Most black women won't get married. Most black women won't get married. I know that comes as a surprise for many people, but since women outnumber us, of course, most black women won't be married. They won't be picked. So what they could do in the interim period, who knows? Who knows? But you want to live a happy life. You want to live a satisfied life. You want to live a life full of respect and things of that nature. So you got to do these kinds of things for it. I look for the best outcome from man and women. But we must be absolutely honest with what we want in our lives and don't lie to ourselves. Imagine Vivica Fox dating a man like Koku. Koku could look at it and say, yeah, put your bags in the corner. You need to go do this and that and other thing. She gonna look at Koku like, oh, you crazy? You know, I'm Vivica Fox. And then Koku can say, who the fuck cares? You know, in this Bahamian dialect. You know, so it could be a push and pull situation. So let's not fool one another. Let's be honest in terms of what we really want. You know, if the married people who want to be married, they want to be in a committed relationship, wonderful, beautiful. But for people who just want to pass through and want companionship and want sex without the obligation of marriage, then you have to be honest with your counterpart. Let's not waste each other time, because that's the time wasting exercise, I think, from time to time, and it'll only lead to disrespect and tears, you know. So, but I'll leave it there. That wasn't too. I hope for the ladies who were listening, I hope it wasn't too disrespectful. But that's where I am with it. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I appreciate that point. I always say the truth is not an offense, man. And again, if we talking about, you know, cultural revolutions and nation building, I mean, these are real conversations that had to be had. The idea that you played the field and now you're 40, 50, or like in Vivica's case, almost 60, and you want to now get serious? Why would someone take you seriously? Why would I, you know, and again, I don't want to offend, but why would I buy the town bike? And vice versa too, by the way, ladies. Y'all shouldn't be buying the town bike either. You know? But why should I do that? The best thing that we can do is have healthier relationship schemes. Go back to, I think I saw a trigger one I mentioned in the chat earlier. Go back to rites of passage, where young women and young men learn what their duties are, what they're supposed to be working towards, what they should be trying to achieve, so that our communities can be stronger. And one of those things, and I mentioned this before, maybe even last week I mentioned, 2 weeks ago, one of the things I always liked about the Nation of Islam is that even though they have their problems, like, you know, like everyone does, and I have issues with them for the most part, I always liked the idea that they had like how you have Sunday school and all that, they had like schools for the young men and women to go off and kind of learn how to deal with one another. You know? And you should want to get out the game early. In the chat, Kofi said, well said to Buana. RBG in the chat says, women who play too much know not to fly straight. Kofi says, women at the age realize that they may be all alone. Children left the nest and grandchildren coming. He goes on to say, Kevin Samuels will tell her to get a dog. Real Black Gentleman says, those who do so wield the devil's power and only seek arrested and retarded development to make men into children. That's a excellent point again. It goes back to that earlier point. Like, stop dealing with these guys who you could control. These are usually not quality men. These are men who don't like accountability. So they don't hold you to none, but that's hurtful to you, which is hurtful to all of us. If our black women aren't accountable to themselves and to their community, that's a huge loss. Because why? The women are the first teacher. Then what are we to expect from the children coming up? You know? Erzulism says women don't want to cater to men, especially at 40. Women want to do whatever they want. They want to hold all the standards, but don't want to abide by man's standard. He said at 35 to 45, they are full of misandry. That's interesting. What say you guys in the chat to that while I ask my panelists if there's any last thoughts on this prompt tonight? Juan, any last thoughts?
Can I say something? Look, for real. I'm not sitting here and saying that women don't have faculty of reasoning and any of that shit. This is what I'm saying is that the level of cooperation in natural kind of we're talking about like biological imperative type stuff. Like if I'm going to go out and do something, I already know how to go out and do it. You have to compliment that. I don't need your 100% to what I'm doing. If anything, I need a tactful 20%, a tactful 5%. Do you see how that works? But it's her ability to understand that it's not. I don't need so much from her. It's just the kind of I think that most men are like this. Like they don't need their women to do what it is that they're doing to do the core fundamental, because a man's going to take care of himself. A man's going to take care of himself. It's that even if he's bringing all the money, I mean, if she isn't doing anything for him, he doesn't need her. You see what I'm saying? There has to be, it can be intangible, it can be tangible. She can physically do something for the man, even though he has all the resources, whatever, somehow the residual resource that just by being next to him, she can arrange his arrangements in such a way that you see what I'm trying to say. There are ways about it when you reason it out. You have to, if this doesn't work, what was kind of like Cat Williams, I had, this don't work, switch it up, trying shit and trying shit, switch it up, trying shit and trying shit. The kind of methodology that overruns emotionality. If I make a mistake and I basically have a mini temper tantrum and not like look at the various aspects of what I did and not vest myself into the failure and just seeing that, okay, that didn't work. What if I try it somewhat differently? Or, if seeing how maybe that level of just making small adjustments, maybe I have to try a level higher. I might need some help, be brave and ask for help. And you can see how this works, the kind of methodology that makes adjustments when there are problems that seeks to solve problems, or at least at a minimum, bring things to a base evenness, where if things were unstable, they're at a base stableness. And people are at ease, stress, physiological conditions are settled. People are breathing easy. We're happy. We're encouraging good health with one another. These are kind of what's the word I want to say? Symbiotic. You know what I'm saying? And it's the nature of the symbiotism that is not constant. It's not constant. It's not stagnant. Sometimes the symbiotism, it's kind of like tennis, or I don't know, I'll say tennis, or I'll say football. Like sometimes, like the linebacker isn't always gotta be behind the line. If one of them running backs or one of them tight ends go into motion, one of them linebackers might have to play a wide receiver. That's just the game. It doesn't matter that, well, I'm a linebacker. I know role. Now you gotta be next man up. And being next man up is in the way that, if when I'll say submission is a substitute for the mission. If I do it 95% of the time, you sit there and you watch me do this, you're in practice with me. If for some reason I might trip up, you might be in a position to carry my legs, so to speak, for that day while I heal up. Because you know what I do, you sit there and watch it, you're with me. and you know, you was a sub for the mission. And you gotta know that there's going to be success, and not just be like, man, it's all bad, it's all bad. I mean, that's just men and women. It's not about nature of people. I'm gonna say that. Got to be a lot more methodical. I'm gonna pass the mic.
Okay. So yes. So what I would say quickly, Koku, is when Razuli says that at 35 to 45, women are full of misandry, I hope he's also talking about his white snow bunnies too, because he's leave his white snow bunnies out and only seem to focus on black women. But there's always an element of truth. Sometimes when Razuli speaks, sometimes I may not like it, but there's an element of truth to it. But that's not only misandry, but also the men are jaded as well. You know, the men at that usually at 35 to 45, usually some women are divorcees, or if they have not been married, they would have experienced some traumatic situation. Men and women, not you can't genderize it just to women, but men and women would have faced some traumatic situation in their lives, would may cause them to be jaded and angry towards the opposite sex for whatever reason at that point. Because usually in the 20s, they may get married and be in love and believe in human potential and all that good stuff. But then when they reach 35, they realize, well, their lover may, or partner or husband or wife may not have been the person who they thought they was. So now they go through the process of divorce or breakup or whatever. So now they're angry. But I would say for people like that, not all people are in that scenario dealing with traumatic situations and seek to beat up everybody with the same stick as their husband, partner, or baby daddy or baby mama. Some people just, didn't get married or wasn't in that scenario. They're not jaded. They're open to a relationship, but they are people who choose in a way that they don't want to just choose anyone. Because you can't just choose anyone to be a partner and a mate. There's a lot of junk out here. There's a lot of filth out here and sewage, raw human sewage out here, posing as human beings, ain't suitable to couple with any other human being. And you don't know that until you really deal with what's out here right now currently. And some people want to make the best decision for their lives because sometimes commitment is a permanent thing. So you want to be able to choose a partner where you're going to be happy, most happiest with. Sometimes sometimes it take a long time. It don't walk through the early 20s. Sometimes it may take a longer period of time, especially when you're trying to choose a right partner. When you're 20, your brain ain't developed yet, so you don't even know yourself, let alone somebody else. So you learn to, and when you get older, you learn to really configure what it is that you like first and foremost in terms of a partner. You realize and recognize more things about yourself. That's an unfortunate state of things. They used to say, old too soon, smart too late. And what that means is that sometimes you figure out the world, but when you get to really understand what the world is all about, you're too old to do anything about it. And I think that sometimes people really need to evaluate, because the society is changing. It's much different from what we know. The rules have changed. The social contract that we was bound to, Koku and all other brothers back in the day, is not the same social contract that women and men are committed to now. Where the women stay at home and be mamas and that's not the social contract that they under and they governed by no more. So to choose who is who, it might take a longer period of time. Who's to say what that time will be? So yes, you have jaded people who absolutely hate the opposite sex. You have black women out here who hate black men with a passion. Erzuli is not wrong with that. There are black men out there who hate black women. And they hate women in general. Really and truly, some of them is undercover homosexuals. We ain't even gonna go there. The only thing I would say is that when you are choosing a partner, you choose a partner that's best for you. choose a partner that's best for you. You try to make a good rational decision. And yes, there are gonna be no human being is perfect. What you could work with, try to work with as best as possible. But when you meet a woman, if she is intolerable, no matter how beautiful she is, no matter how body shape, no matter how she smells and things, no matter what her job status and classification is, if she ain't for you, let her go. She is only a human being. And I say that to my sisters who look at men who have money in the bank and have certain level of sophistication and education. If these people are not compatible with you, let them go. Choose to marry the garbage man instead. If he make you smile, if he make you feel good, and if he is consistent, choose the garbage man instead. Don't get caught up with these superficial categories and dealing with men and women and things of that nature. You know what I mean? A human being is just that, a human being. They have the potential to take you to heaven, or they have the potential to send you straight down to the freaking depths of hell. So you choose within your own consciousness and mindset. No mind these crazy people out here who tell you what you need to do for your personal life. You make your own decision and be ready to lay in the bed that you make for yourself. That's what I would tell the brothers and sisters, under the sound of my voice. But I'll leave it there. Koku, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of rugged individualism there too. We have to be thinking about our community as well. We said his name a few times, so he appeared. Razuli, how are you this week?
Yeah, I'm fine. How's everything going?
Good.
My main thing is that at a certain age, a woman in her 40s has so much trauma that she has, granted from family and from dating different men and stuff like that. Unless they do the work, unless they go to therapy, and that's men too, the collision is gonna be terrible. I don't think at 40, I'm single. So, and I've met women who are 40, between 30 and 35 and 40. They are very arrogant. They're very prideful, and they're very demanding. And another, when they say, and there's no pride in a love or in a relationship. And I think women are very prideful. And I blame men for that, because men, if a woman is good looking as a 10, they let her get away with everything. They don't hold her accountable. And women have been going with that. And even our fathers, I say fathers don't raise their daughters to be wives. I think fathers raise their daughters, especially nowadays, to be that same independent woman that don't need a man that they were facing at their age. That's what they're putting out there now. So this young lady said, "Oh, men are intimidated by my money." No, we're not. I mean, I'm not saying, okay, let me not say that some men don't feel inferior to it. It's how you act with the money. So if you're a six-figure making woman and you say, "Oh, I want to go on a trip to Greece tomorrow, next week," and if your men tell you, "Whoa, nah, why you want to do that? We shouldn't. Let's wait till Thanksgiving or something." What you're gonna be? "Oh, it's my money. I could do whatever I want." So by doing that, it seems like you don't want to be under a man. You want to do what you want. Technically, I think you want to do what you want, and then at the same time, you want the protection of a child. Oh, he has to protect my feelings. He has to do this, that. But meanwhile, you don't want to be under his covenant. So I think this all starts with what girls and young boys see growing up. The black family unit is in terrible condition. I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of it is. So if I have a brother that I know, I was talking to him about his daughter or something like that, and he said, "No, I'm gonna raise my daughter to be independent, where she doesn't need to rely on a man." And I said, "Brother, isn't that the same thing you're going through with the baby's mom?" It's so clear that men right now could be like, "Oh, these women are too independent or too this and that," but they raise the same young girls. And all of this, there's a puppeteer that's creating this friction between black men and black women. We're not talking about the elephant in the room. A lot of those things that our sisters got in their head is pumped to them by the culture, the secular culture. All that romantic shit. Oh, I want to go out. You got to make me feel good. I got to be happy, happy, happy. I'm not saying for you not to be happy in your relationship, but that happiness that women are chasing like a drug, it doesn't exist. Like that exuberant happiness that they see in movies, that they hear about in music. Music, movies, flowers, all of that are making women so prideful that when a regular man comes to them, or a man of substance, if he doesn't do none of those things, oh, he's not good for me. Oh, if he doesn't run in front of me and open my door, nah, he's not good for me. If he doesn't give me 12 billion flowers for Valentine's, mama, you 45. You're not even 20 no more. And again, women look at it. Men, I could be 45 if I'm financially secure or whatever. You could get a woman. You could reproduce. Women don't understand that. Based on what they tell us, as women get older, it's more difficult for them to get pregnant or whatever. This young lady right here is talking about, oh, I don't want no man to give me pressure to have kids for me. So what are you bringing to the table? What is she bringing to the table? Money? Any man, most men don't really care about a woman's money, I would say. So this young lady is talking about, oh, I don't want the pressure to be having kids. I don't want to date younger men because they might want to have kids. So what you there for? So she's just there to have sex and what, and be loved? So this young lady, even though she's 40, she's caught between a hard place, a rock and a hard place. Because most men, even at 40, they're looking to date a woman that's younger. Because when you're younger, like somebody had said, you don't have all these traumas that a woman at 40 would have. And unless that young lady at 40 is willing to work to understand her trauma, to understand her trigger, then we're just colliding. Men and women are just colliding. A man is traumatized by his own shit. Women are traumatized by their own shit, and they just colliding. And I do realize this at this age. This young lady's 40. Even at my age right now, I'm not willing to change certain stuff. When I was 20, I might have been willing to change certain stuff. As boys, when we grow up as boys, we become boys. You know how people used to say, oh, you young. Don't worry about that. Go after other women. You need to start telling your boys to be sexually promiscuous at a young age. Yo, find your woman. You don't need to be having sex because you're 22, 23. Find your woman, bro. And if you want more than one woman, you could do that. But stop using women for their bodies and then for your sexual pleasure and just throwing them out. And then those same women, when they have body counts, because they accumulated body counts when they were younger, now we at our 40, we don't want them. So we got to take accountability for our behaviors too, as parents, as men. Yo, if you're, I was watching something, I think I said this before. A young man told his mom that he was in love with this girl. The young mother tells him, no, you're too young. You got to be chasing. Why are you telling the young man that? Yo, we got to switch the dynamics between young women and men, especially black women and black boys and black girls. If we don't fix that early, we're just going to be fighting each other as we get older. And I think as they get older, I think women are more of a loss than men, because men, biologically, they still could reproduce to whatever. And when you hit 40, even Vivica Fox said something. Vivica Fox said, oh, I wish, she said 50 Cent treated her the best. And she said something. And when I looked, when they were dating, 50 was 30, she was 40. Vivica's at 40 thought she could do better than 50 at 30. Vivica's at 40. Thought she had so much more to offer than 50 could offer to her. 50 a multi-platinum. I'm not saying 50 morally was all of that, but financially and whatever. So at the end of the day, dating is the dating game right now is really horrible. I think for both men and women, but I think women have a delusional mentality that just because they look good and they're this, that, oh, we have to abide by standards, but our standards are you're a misogynist. And I think all that misogyny is cloaked, all that is misandry cloaked under misogyny. So that's all I have to say for that.
I appreciate your input there, Zuli. Is there any last words for this prompt?
Well, Erzuli is a brilliant brother. Sometimes, let me put sometimes on that. You know, when he feels like it. And I always remember when Vivica said no, when 50 Cent said when 50 Cent and Vivica was breaking up, one of the sexual things that Vivica was doing was licking 50 Cent. I mean, it was really disgusting, man. And I can't take that out of my head when he said that shit. So it's like I look at her crazy now. I'm like, who man would want to mess with her after 50 Cent make that public statement? Who man would want to mess with her, bro? Who man? I don't know who, you know, but good luck to her. I think that Erzuli says some things from time to time. It's harsh, but it's true. I don't like it. I don't like how he says it. But when you evaluate it without emotion and look at it as a cold, hard situation, it's facts. I can't get around it. One of the things Erzuli said last time, you see, he was calling black women state property. I had to think about that. And that really never leave me. So why would he say that? You know, why would he say state property? You know, but like I say, some of the things I try to look at in a very logical, reasonable way without being emotionally attached to the things that were said. And I ask myself, is it true or is it not true? But I'll leave it there, Coco. I'll leave it.
One time I want to say, like when I said women are state property, I'm saying that they are already been programmed. The husband and the boyfriends are the side dudes. They already impregnated your woman through her mother, who passes it on to the daughter and to the father sometimes. So a lot of women think they come into a relationship, they're gonna lead you, if not directly or indirectly. What do they say? Oh, men is the head, but the woman is the neck. That's playing you. Meaning that when that thing, and a lot of old school men love saying that shit. Oh, I'm the head, but she's the neck. Oh, happy wife, happy life. Bro, if a woman tells you you're the head and I'm the neck, that means she's controlling you. So I said to say this: a lot of men right here, they say, "Oh, I have a great woman. I have this." Okay, my brother, stop doing the thing that makes her feel happy. By that I mean, stop buying her those Chanel's bag. Stop taking her out every other day. Stop giving her 30 flowers. Let's see. Stop celebrating Valentine's Day. Stop celebrating Christmas. Stop celebrating Thanksgiving. Stop celebrating those stuff that the secular would tell her is what makes a good relationship. Don't update to a 7-bedroom house. Tell her now the 3-bedroom is fine. See how long she stays with you. Once they infuse, and then I'm gonna use the Bible. Once the snake got the woman to bite the apple, she was no longer Adam's wife. And I'm just using that as a whatever the word is. So the woman that's in your house is not is being impressed upon by somebody else, by the world, and you have to fight against that every day. Oh, I want to get you. A lot of men who are freaking Afrocentric and all of that. oh, my wife, I gotta get my wife a Louis Vuitton bag. For what? I gotta buy a $30,000 ring. For what? Diamonds are not even rare. Diamonds are fake, are not rare anymore. But if you don't give most women, if you don't propose to them with a diamond ring, yo, they're not looking at you for shit. Your woman? That's what I mean by that. If your woman is not programmed by your culture, she's not really your woman, bro. If your woman is not programmed by your morality of your culture, that's not your woman. And a lot of us men have learned to compromise with it. But if you look deep down in it, you realize she's the next. She's implicitly controlling. They're controlling you through her. But then again, that's all this we have to go through. All this we're just colliding. Especially, I'm only referring to black relations. You know, we're just colliding with each other with a bunch of traumas, and I think a lot of us want to be in relationships for love, not for the betterment of our people. Being in a relationship, choosing a black woman and choosing a black man is not just for love. That's a political statement. That's power. But he's not. Anyway, man, that's all I have to say, man.
All right. Shout out to Arthur out there in the chat. He said we need Jeebus. That's the show for tonight. I really do appreciate Zuli coming up, sharing his thoughts on his last prompt. I do appreciate everyone else who was up here tonight. Forecast, Bakari, Black Steel, RBG, Buana. I appreciate everyone who's in the chat participating. If you're a lady, if you're a black woman out there, an African woman, and you heard this discussion and you disagree with any points being made, by all means, join the Discord, navigate to the Shoot the Breeze channel, and post a prompt that we could go over next week that refutes it. And by all means, come on up and speak to it as well. But in the meantime, let me get shout outs from you guys. Real Black Gentleman, what would you like to shout out this week?
I'm always out. Sometimes I just draw a blank. I had a long weekend, so I was able to. I don't know. I'll shout out my mom, I guess.
Shout out to RBG.
Shout out my mom. I was able to talk to her for a minute, so I'll give her a
shout out to RBG mom. Shout out to
Zuli, what would you like to shout out this week?
I want to shout out the Kenyans for coming to save Haiti while their country's in shit. Shout out to the Kenyan brothers. Shout out to them. Keep doing a great job that you're doing of improving Black people's life in our continent. Another shout out is to the people. What is that? The Grenada. I know a lot of people are going through the hurricane. Hopefully everybody's fine. And we got to show them some support by donating stuff to whoever. If you could find your local people who are doing stuff to send stuff to those islands. Yeah. I don't understand how those hurricanes keep shitting on us. Meanwhile, I don't understand this. I hear a lot of time people be saying, "Oh, the hurricanes are coming from West Africa due to the slave." How you hurting us? I don't understand that. But hey, that's it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Razuli. Buana, last but not least, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yes, sir. So first of all, shout out to RBG's mom. I hope she is healthy, and I hope she's well. In terms of whatever she's doing, I hope she's well. Shout out to Zuli for coming on tonight. Sometimes Zuli says some profound things. I gotta give it to him. I may not like it. I may not like the way he says it, but if you really put it around in your head for long enough period of time, the mind is right. But it's just a harsh truth to swallow from time to time. But I have to, say shout out to him for giving that truth from time to time. Even though whatever. But shout out to the Sahelian states, my brothers in Abraham Traore and that mix, them three or four African countries right now would have met, and Abraham Traore and all these African presidents in that area are being received like rock stars. For people who say that Pan Africanism is dead, I would just dare you to see what's actually going on right now. With them 70 million African people right now, it's almost like they haven't they holding like a freaking, they are being received more so than anything in the world right now. It's interesting that the Western media is not taking it up. But shout out to the Sahelian states who would have met together. They convening together. They speaking. They having conferences. They doing business. Hey, shout out to them. They represent what the future of Africa means to all the rest of the world right now, and they are at the forefront to what need to be like almost like a disease spreading throughout the African world and the Black world itself. But what these doing, man, is dynamic. It's dynamic, So shout out to them brothers as well, and shout out to the Bitter Medicine podcast once again, for giving that good news, that good information, and informing the brothers and sisters around the world and around the diaspora about what's really happening in the world. But I'll leave it there.
I appreciate all of you for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. Shout out to African Streams, so I'll shout out tonight. But I would like for us to create something similar to African Streams as well. So if you have any talents that you think you can donate, time, efforts, etc., just hit me up and let me know. A shout out to Kofi the Black Critic, the newest addition to KWAZ Radio. So make sure you guys subscribe to Kofi's channel as well. The Forecast, Brother Bakari, Realm in the Bush, and Oni, and Harsh Rally Podcast. We'll be back next week. Until then, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.